Okay. I think I have absolutely botched it with the bots as well, so everything is going to be magical. Yes. See, the fun part is when I was configuring the first command, it is very much scuff-proof, so don't worry, Oskull, you got your first. You just can't get any more first. It's not based on the stream starting or stopping, it is based on a 24-hour interval, I think, or a 6-hour interval, something like that. So don't worry about it. But you trying to claim first shows me that everything is alright, peachy keen, hunky-dory. Right, so with my experimentation and borking everything, I have come to the conclusion that it is not related to the cable, and it is very bad to have cables other than Cat7. So if you are looking at your Ethernet cables, if it has to have 7 on it somewhere or higher, because otherwise it doesn't work too good. But I did swap out my very long cable for a very short one. I think the very short one was causing me connection issues, which is why I swapped it out. Damn you, mate! How dare you get in the way of Oskull's first, Oskull? But yes, I feel like that's enough for messing around with the configuration. I thought of trying to steal the first, but thought it would have been rude. It would have been rude, you are correct. But that won't stop Oskull from trying to rob himself. So I think the frame dropping has somehow miraculously gone away slightly. Yeah, I honestly, genuinely don't really know. If it keeps persisting in other streams, I'll deal with it. I'll try to troubleshoot it. Let me write down frame dropping bad. So the mug isn't working and the frames aren't also working. So hopefully we will figure that out. But for now, let's actually get into building the castle. I feel like that has been long overdue, so without anything further ado, let's get on to that. That is, well, the first is therefore the first. You just happen to have been the first for most of the time. Right. Video games. There it is. Tiny Glade. Bada bing, bada silence. Yes, the frame dropping has ceased. I mean, I did do something. I swapped one cable with another, so that could have actually been it. Potentially. I do not know. I don't think it is. Oh, that was very nice and quick. Good job, game. Oh, and it even sounds. Are you hearing the sounds of the game? I think you are. Master volume is looking pretty heckin' good. You do earn it with the merit of always being here on time, Oskull, so that is not something that can be denied. I would like to swap this because the snow is getting in my way. I want to look at it in the autumn aesthetic because the autumn aesthetic looks very good. Right. So here is the beautiful castle, and there is the glorious sheep. That should be a game most audible, if anything is to go by. Oh, I remember the halcyon days. But yes, going back to the subject of switching up my tags on Twitch, I do have the tag for Ask Me Anything now, so questions. They will be asked, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. That is, I feel like that is something that has gone without saying, but now I'm saying it exclusively, so I know that at the very least that I have said it. Can I kill this? No. I wish to delete. Oh yeah, we messed around with the settings last time a little bit. Can I kill this such that it allows me to make it go further? That is still the delete button. Nope. This one. Can I make it very detailed. Yes, I can. Did you finish Night Rain? That is an excellent question. I played it a bunch off stream because it felt like it was too precarious of a game to stream properly. But I beat a bunch of Night Lords, but I can't really say that I managed to finish it, because what is an Elden Ring game that is made to adhere to the Battle Royale format? I don't even remember. What is the type of game the Night Rain could be described as? Bowen, what's the meaning of life? Or are you going to tell me life has no inherent meaning and it's up to the individuals to decide what they make of it? Wow, it's almost as if you've been here before, Oskal. Yes. Life does have no inherent meaning. We assign it meaning. We give it meaning. It receives meaning based on the virtues that we accomplish in it. Life itself is simply the canvas, and we are the painters, and the meaning is whatever we paint upon it. That is life in my subjective opinion. Now watch me struggle to build a wall for 3 hours. And the best part about streams is that they tire my voice out so that I can then use my tired out voice to sound gruffer in my voice acting recordings, because I have a bunch of those queued up for today, and I can't wait to get onto those after streaming finishes so that I could have a slightly more... I don't know why I value roughed up voices, but I think they sound cool, so I'm going to utilize the fact that my voice is usually hoarse and tired after a stream to do just that. This seems... fascinating. Very fascinating. Can I... No, it's always the entire wall... or not the entire. There is no in-between. And that's okay. We will deal and we will manage, as is our prerogative. Our glorious, glorious prerogative. I reckon that works out well enough. But did I finish Night Rain? I have not touched Night Rain in quite some time, and I beat a few bosses, but I believe I fought the actual final Night Lord that is a knight with 50 million swords and all that stuff, but I do not believe I managed to claim victory over him, so I am very much not in the camp of people that can pride themselves on having made significant progress with Night Rain. Let's go for that. I certainly didn't manage to amount to much on stream with regards to Night Rain. It suffered from connectivity issues on my end. Well, I say it. I suffered from connectivity issues. I don't know what it was. I believe it was a combination of the hardware and the servers and my router and so on and so forth. What a nice place to start as a final boss with 100% aura. If you're referring to this castle, I would very much agree. I believe this is a great place for a final fight. Like, this would be a great arena, I reckon. You have pillars surrounding you, the evils of man at every corner. Welcome in, Black Death San. Bada bing. Can't even make the excuse that my painting is already ruined because, as Bob Ross famously said, there are no mistakes, only happy little accidents. And that's another thing to add on to Bob Ross's words, is that it's not so much of a mistake as it is a gateway to future successes. It was a necessary thing in your path in order to have you get to where you want to actually go. We are a collaboration and a collective of all of our experience throughout life, and those inform where we will end up and where we will go, and the time to change and adapt and improve those circumstances to better fit the thing that we want of ourselves in the long term is now. The time is now. You must seize it. No painting is ruined, it's just an unfinished canvas. You can always start fresh by going to a new location, by meeting new people. It is never the end. Just because this set of people have permanently abandoned you with a sour taste in their mouth and have gone to as great a length to bar you from entry into several communities doesn't mean that it's the end. There's other communities. There's 8 billion people. You messed up with people and you experience remorse and you learn from your mistakes. You introspect, you move on, you become a grander individual, and you don't commit those same mistakes with the new people in your life because there will always be new people. You just have to treat them better than you did the previous people. Because it's always a... I was going to say it's always a battle, but... there's always opportunities to improve and so on and so forth. But, go uppity... fighting new people is hard. It is! That is... correct. Absolutely. It is difficult to find new people because you share of yourself, you get out there, you risk, you go out of your comfort zone, you try to find new people. It doesn't always work out. I've been extremely lucky with the people that I've managed to discover over the course of my existence. And I recognize the luck and privilege within that fact. And I try to hold on to them as well as I can, but I know what it is like also to not always score when you try to meet new people and find new people. I remember there was a lovely circumstance where I tried to find my new set of people that I would interact with in a real basis outside of the fathomless chasm by using Dungeons and Dragons as a gateway, because I don't know if I've mentioned this enough times, but I started out as a complete novice with regards to tabletop games, and I worked my way up the chain because I was so engaged and passionate about D&D that I worked up and went from a player to a DM to a treasurer of the local community, and it was a lovely time, and I feel like that is one of my most secure methods of acquiring and discovering new people. So I tried that, and I found a group, and we had a whale of a time. It was a lovely set of circumstances, and then we didn't interact with each other for another month. I don't know how I did this last time, but I will figure it out. And as we did not interact with each other for another month, I tried to stir things up, and we managed to stir things up, but it was not the same as the first time. It was markedly different. Can I extend this? There we go. There's my pillars of beauty. And it was different, and we, again, like the first session, we were like, oh, it's gonna be so great, we're gonna have our own dedicated Discord group, and we're gonna have more sessions, and it's gonna be great, and that group has had no engagement or activity within the span of the last 2 years, and that's okay. People just sometimes don't put in the effort, things fall apart for whatever reason, and it's okay. These things happen. What's important is to take the requisite break, to recognize the effort you put in happened, and you tried your best to take a break, and then to try again. It's not about how many times you get knocked down, it's about getting back up each time and trying until you find a place that actually satisfies you. Whatever form that may take on. Come on, then. I want this thing to do as I command, and it refuses me. Aha, there we go. That's how. That's how you do the thing. Have the thing do as you command. There we are. Glorious incandescence, I am certain. There we go. The pillars of eternity are freely beset upon this land. There we are. Glorious and beautiful. What kind of character do you have in D&D? Oh, I have loads, because I don't know if this, again, this might have been due to the fact that I was very new at the time, but I can tell you I have suffered many deaths in my career in Dungeons & Dragons. My most memorable and liked D&D character was a dwarven warrior who was ostracized from his own culture and his own community because he was a bit off and a bit weird. But one day he discovered a shipment of cultural exports from the faraway land of the Reeds. And this cultural export came in the form of drawings and manga and other such things that illustrated incredible heroes and stories of great warriors. And he became a legendary, essentially, samurai LARPer who very much spoke like this every single time he spoke. It was a very fun set of circumstances for this character. And his name was Takahamarashi Lakahabalaka. It was like so many different Japanese syllables, and it was extremely fun. The DM had me speak sparsely, but it was an extremely fun experience for me, I think, hopefully for the people involved as well, because it was very much a caricature and like an overambitious extreme weeb archetype, but I actually had the skills to back it up. And it was really, really fun, so that was one of my characters. I had a necromancer who wanted not necessarily to be an actual necromancer because he basically a lawful a good necromancer who tried to be moral about his repurposing and recycling of human bodies to the best of his abilities with the circumstances that he was given. And he only used the remains of his two faithful dog pets from his tragic backstory. He was basically raised to be the son of a lich who was an absolute hard ass and would mistreat him constantly. And he just wanted to be a good, innocent little boy. So he's also a tale of innocence and how he is very isolated from the rest of the world. But he would like to use his talents as a necromancer for good. And he doesn't really resurrect anything other than his own childhood animal companion. So it was a very... My premise with that character was to basically have a good necromancer who tried his absolute best and was a subject and consequence of the trauma that he experienced in his youth. My tolerance for failure is low. Well, that's the fun part about failure, is that you need to not look at it as an indictment of you and your character, of your quality as a person. It is something that has been programmed within our society, and I very much understand where you're coming from, because I used to be the exact same way, where failure is treated as the be-all, end-all of who you are as a person and your being and your value, and so on and so forth. And it goes without saying that it's not the case, but simultaneously it is very easy to think that it is not the case on paper, but it is very difficult to believe it is not the case in practice. This is not going out the way I desired it to be. How can I fix thee? Can I extend this? Yes, I can. So it is very important for one to actually examine their relationship with failure itself. Does it seem like it is a healthy state? Because if any failure sends you screaming up the wazoo and you are absolutely petrified of failure to the point where you're completely frozen with indecision and you don't do anything out of fear that you will invoke that failure, that I don't think is healthy, because I used to be in that exact reality, I suppose. I used to very much treat failure like that, and it was something that absolutely petrified me, to the point where it just stopped me from acting and stopped me from being who I am and who I want to be. And it is important to, at that point, re-examine one's relationship with failure and see if it is something that is actually beneficial, because that is the thing, is that the ego is a very convincing liar who will use actual proper arguments to convince you that a thing is good for you, when the reality is that a thing is actually only as good as it keeps you safe and it keeps you content, but it keeps you stagnant. And it is very important to recognize those things and re-examine some core beliefs and figure out if they're things that we are willing to subscribe to willingly, or if it is something that we have been subconsciously and unthinkingly just been programmed to believe based on our upbringing, the society that we have lived in, and so on and so forth. So, yes, to add. It wasn't even a question, Skull, but my answer is yes. And then with that acceptance comes the realization that failure is actually the best teacher, because it shows you, that's somewhere along the line, I don't know exactly what happened and how I came to believing the things that I do, but somewhere along the line, I stopped seeing failure as a scary thing. Of course, that doesn't mean that I am completely immune to the effects of failure. I will feel bad, I will feel conscious, I will get in my own head about things. I do recall that thing I mentioned in the previous stream, if we can be cheeky about the fact that I accidentally reset my streams. Oh, I've had some drop frames again, but at least it's less than before, so it is within tolerance. Like I said, my tolerance for drop frames is sub 10%. Anyway, I did mention that I had social troubles with certain people that I had trouble communicating with because they seem to be interpreting things I say and do in a negative light, and I need to be better about those things because, again, it's all like, other people can have problems, other people can be messed up in the head and could interpret everything you say as bad even if you don't mean it that way, and it could all result in downfalls and drama and so on and so forth. But ultimately, it is still well within your control to see and examine your own behavior, because that is the thing that is under your control. You have the power to examine your behavior and see how you could better adapt it to the current situation. Oh, what happened here? No. Didn't want that to happen. Yeah, camera. How do you do, Mr. the Camera? Fascinating. As is said in the series. What was I talking about? Yes, I guess. There we are. That's better. There we go. Perfect. There we are. Delightful. Oh yes, my point was that you do examine, you have the ability to control your own reactions, responses, emotions, and so on and so forth, and that is the only thing that you can control. And there is a solution to every person's personality defect. Of course, sometimes it is to just avoid said person, because it's just easier that way, and it is within the human nature to look towards the easiest path of least resistance and so on and so forth. But again, it's also important to strike balance. But somewhere along the line, that's the thing that I was talking about. Somewhere along the line, I stopped looking at failure as a detriment and an indictment of my quality as a human being, and my quality, well, human being, at my quality as a person. And more so a thing that allows me to examine, okay, these are the things that I did. They did not work. I did not achieve because what is failure? To me, failure is doing things and those things not allowing you to achieve the result you wanted to achieve. That is what failure is to me. It's the having the opposite of what you want to happen, essentially. And that is perfectly fine, because it is an avenue where you can examine, okay, here are the things that I did, here's the results that they have, those are not the results I wanted, let's try something else. Because again, well, not again, I don't know how many times I've mentioned it, it's probably mentioned once or twice, not in recent times, but my point is that in the famous words of Voss from Far Cry 3, the definition of insanity, actually no, he doesn't actually give you the definition of, oh wait, no, he does. But the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So, to stay sane, do things, but different things. Expect... also, another thing that is detrimental to one's existence is expectations. Expectations set us up to fail and to fall because we imagine what the outcome is going to be, and if the outcome deviates even slightly from what we imagine it to be, we are immediately beset with negative emotion, and once again, it is... It is yet another thing that we can do without, and we can learn to divorce ourselves from for a better quality of life. Of course, what I mean by this is I was very much a culprit of this myself, where I... No. Where I would very much have my perception of a certain event, or my expectations of event, completely color and cloud what the event ended up being, and it stopped me from being able to perform, it stopped me from being able to be adequate. It was a very big and disastrous detriment to my everything. And I learned that it is something that one can do without, or at the very least, be very mindful of your expectations and be very mindful to also temper them, because what I had was an extreme case where not only would I have extremely sky-high expectations that were never resolved, I would also not even wait for the events to happen. I would instead build a fantasy of what I ideally wanted those events to transpire into and what they would ultimately become, and I just basically lived in that fantasy. It wasn't about the person I was meeting, the date I was going on, the job interview. It was about my perception of it and what I wanted out of it, and I substituted the reality of the circumstances for a fantasy that was comforting, that was nice, that filled all of my desires and expectations completely, but then reality came marching in and destroyed that. So it is better to temper oneself and live within the confines of reality, because reality is neutral. It is not inherently bad nor good, much like the world, it just is. Whether or not we believe the world is good or bad is entirely based on our own perception of it. Is entirely based on the things that we have seen. It is based on many squalid factors, and it is very important to be mindful of those things. And at the very least, to be mindful of them at the very least, and if you could do better, to be able to temper those and act accordingly. Ooh. Oh, that's a good idea. I could split these, so this part is actually... Oh. Have you spent any time in college? You seem like a very educated type of person. I appreciate the compliment. I have spent approximate amount of time in college. Funnily enough, my time in college did not allow me to reach the level of introspection that I am showing to all of you right now. What allowed me to reach the level of introspection that I'm currently sharing with all of you was actually doing it in my own time in the form of reading books and going to therapy and coming to terms with many of the things that I am talking to about today. Hello again, Selvin. Welcome into my first stream of the Wednesday. This is definitely the first time. I'm not losing frames. I'm not going cuckoo-cachoo, I can assure you. Welcome in. Thank you for stopping by. At least my face works. But yes, I will definitely endeavor to seek out solutions for the frame drop issue because it bothers me. I am sending out a vast more frames than I used to, but simultaneously I'd like... Well, I'll figure it out. Anyway. Again, another piece of programming that I became conscious of literally today, an hour or two or so before I began streaming today, was about the fact that it's not necessarily a program, or it might be, I'm not necessarily sure where it comes from 100%, but it is, in my subjective experience, the belief that once we leave our educational institutions, once we finish our official educational journey in the form of getting our college diploma, getting our university diploma, master's, whatever, wherever your stopping point is, I believe that I've been programmed to expect that my education is concluded, and thusly I am it's no longer necessary for me to learn. And that is very far from the truth of reality, which is that we learn our whole lives. And it is something that I've heard before, we learn our whole lives and so on and so forth, but it is not something that I have actually thought about consciously until recently. It is something that I took for granted. Oh yeah, you learn your whole life, but there comes a point where we start to think, well, I finished my education. I should be able to get employed. I should be able to get jobs. I don't need to learn any new skills anymore. And that is a trap of the ego in my, again, subjective personal experience. That basically is yet another way for the ego to be able to convince us that we don't need to improve anymore, we are fine as we are, and we are allowed to atrophy. And atrophy is very bad, again, in my opinion, and it is something to be avoided. There we go. Oh no. Actually, aha. So, am I educated? Yes, but ultimately it came from reading the right books and being very mindful about it, because I have become very conscious of my own behavior, very conscious of its impact on others, and I would like for that impact to be as positive as possible. And it is a difficult thing to think about as a person where you have impacted somebody poorly, and is it worthwhile to go back into that person's life to express remorse, to apologize? But ultimately, is that something that you're doing for the other person, or is that something that you're doing for yourself to essentially admonish yourself and show them, oh, you don't have to think about me in that way. I'm a changed man. I'm better. Please don't think of me as that horrible person that wronged you. I've changed. I've improved. I've adapted. And is that something that you're doing out of a genuine sense of improvement and growth, or is it because you want to simply show them that you're different now and that you don't want to be perceived as the person that you were? Is it ultimately a selfish desire, or is it something else? I believe it's a selfish desire, so even though I do have those thoughts from time to time, I try to look forwards instead of dwelling in the past. That's another lovely thing that the human mind is designed to do, is that it comforts you with visions of the past and how you're not like that anymore, or it gives you the negative sensations and so on and so forth in an effort to coddle you, because ultimately... Oh, that's interesting. Because ultimately these feelings about certain circumstances... Away with you, wheel. I do not want more wheel, I want less wheel. How do I kill the wheel? I am confusing my own self. Die, wheel. There we go. I've killed the wheel. I have been distracted and have thusly lost my train of thought. Oh yes, the brain's appetite for pleasing you with throwing you a constant deluge of pity parties. That's what I was talking about. The human mind is very good at doing that, and it's important to recognize that, and in some circumstances, if you need it, take advantage, but in others, recognize it and move on. Bowen adjusts a thing. Also, Bowen needs to adjust another thing because the previous adjustment. Also, Bowen wonders if there's an end to these adjustments. I don't wonder if there's an end to these adjustments. I just keep adjusting until the adjustments no longer need to be. That's the thing, is if I'm constantly wondering about whether or not the adjustments will ever stop, I will go crazy. So I just adjust things until I'm satisfied, and now I'm actually thoroughly satisfied with this little area. I think I'm actually going to fill it... Well, I mean, this is a really nice courtyard. What I can do, actually, is... You know what? I think I'm just going to leave it as is because it looks pretty. This feels like a really good starting area, actually, like a courtyard or some derelict description. In fact, I'm going to further add onto it by adding stairs. Stairs of stone. Stonaires, if you will. There we are. But where was I in my philosophic escapades? There is a lot to life, and there is a lot to learn. Oh yes, my point was that you learn your whole life, and that is not just a thing that we say, but it is something that one must take to heart, and one must never shy away from the opportunity to learn something new. There is always something new to learn, and it is important to do so at every opportunity. There we are. Like, for the past few years, I have learned how to be a streamer. I have learned how to do Blender to the point where I now have a professional career in Blender, the 3D art modeling program. I am commissioned by people who seek me out for my particular set of skills that I have acquired over a very short career, and I will endeavor to continue to do so. But simultaneously, I have had to ask myself recently, is this something I truly want to do with my life? And ultimately, I keep coming back to the same thing, which is, the thing that I actually want to do with my life is voice acting. And that has undergone many trials, tribulations, and most of all, rejections. Rejections in the form of auditions being declined, rejections in the form of not finding a whole lot of opportunities or not being sought out for voice acting, and things like that. And it is a horse I definitely would like to endeavor to get back on, but I feel like again, this is an excuse that I'm using for myself, which I recognize, is that being a voice actor requires a lot of good networking and a lot of socializing and being a personality to an extent, which, weirdly enough, I already am, but again, when you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's how I feel about voice acting, which is why it's what I want to do as a full-time thing. But unfortunately, especially in this modern day and age, it is something that is becoming exceedingly more and more difficult to pull off, at least in my experience so far. Because it requires a great deal, because I'm essentially a nobody. Nobody knows me to a degree where I have an agent and I am actively receiving jobs that I have to think about and decline depending on my wants and needs and so on. I do not have that luxury or privilege because I'm not far enough into the career yet. I am, for all intents and purposes, not known in that sphere, and to get known, I need to do a lot of networking, a lot of handshaking, a lot of getting out there. And that is a talent that I am not confident in, that I do not believe I possess, and even if I do believe that I possess it to the extent where I am currently live streaming my own thoughts and experiences, which, if you asked me to do that 10 years ago, I would not for the life of me, but now I do it without a second thought, and that shows a great deal of progress in my own being. But point is that it requires energy to do so, and sometimes it just requires stepping out of one's comfort zone and boundaries and so on and so forth, and it is difficult to do consciously. Which is the thing that I'm struggling with currently, but if it's something that I truly love, that is just a excuse and a thing that I tell myself to stop myself from doing what I truly want to do. Can I extend this more? No. Oh yes, I should probably work on this bit. I don't even know what I've been working on, right? More buildings! I dare declare. And it is a lot of introspection, and one must come to terms with their limitations and their circumstances and the limitations they impose on themselves, not because they can't do it, but because they don't want to do it, and use the excuse that they can't, and yada yada. But yes, there are a great many books out there that teach us a great set of values and truths to reality, which allow us to understand both it and ourselves to the extent where we become more capable of actualizing what we want to see into the world. Like, for all my self-doubts and faults and so on and so forth, I did want to have a really sick avatar and a really sick representation of myself. And over the course of many models and many days, I managed to do it. I finally managed to make something that I am truly proud of. Same thing with my beautiful creations in the form of Lego Bionicles. It was a massive hole in my heart from childhood that immediately upon getting the opportunity and a disposable income to fix, I immediately fixed. And now I have some of the most pretty, my own creation mocks in my glass enclosure that would make a younger pre-fusion Bowenthius weep with joy at how cool they are and how incredible and magnanimous they are. And that took a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of years and decades of growth, both literal and metaphorical, to get to that point, because each and every single one of those mocks I have mentioned before take me a considerable and substantial amount of time, because I contemplate how to make them myself from scratch. Ooh-wee. And they are, at least from my experience, a great and Herculean effort, which is why it's been years at this point, and I have yet to return to them. Actually, no, it's been a year. I believe I made a really good one last year. Hello, dear. Welcome in, welcome in. Thank you for stopping by. As you can tell, I've progressed so significantly in this. But welcome in. I hope you're doing well. As well as one can. But so yes, it is very much important to look at one's successes and write them down and use them as a way to bolster oneself up when they are feeling down and like a failure, because again, it's all a matter of perspective. So you have probably had a lot of instances where you have not done as well as you might have hoped or wanted to, but simultaneously there's probably a lot of instances where you've done things that not everybody can boast over. Good Wednesday, Fancy Bone Man. Hello, Deltor. Hello, YouTube Deltor. Welcome in. You failed your test the third time? Ah. Well, as I was mentioning before you came along, failure is just... see, I can... Oh yeah, shit, I forgot. Thank you. I forgot to change the thing. Thank you for telling me. I forgot about that. There we go. That's changed. I forgot to do that. I got distracted. See, this is why you're my moderator. There we go. Now it's Tiny Glade. Ah. Right. Also, I will have to fix the YouTube VOD. And by fix the YouTube VODs, I mean I'm just gonna privatize the small one that is about 10 to 20 minutes long. And I'm just going to keep this one up. Ah, Castle is coming along nicely, thank you. But yes, it is very easy for me to stand here and wax poetic about the fact that failure is just a step in the wrong direction, and like I defined it earlier, failure is just a set of circumstances that resulted in not what you wanted to happen. You set about to have something happen, and you took a course of actions in the name of what you wanted to happen, and what you wanted to happen didn't happen. That is my definition of failure, and that's okay, because that gives you a lot of information to work with. Okay, here are the things that I did that didn't result in the results that I wanted. As such, I need to change my playbook and try something else. And that will eventually result in a success, because every failure is a stepping stone towards success. Again, it is very easy for me to say that, because when you get ahead in life and you go outside of the confines of the educational system, it is much more nuanced and subjective. For one to interpret their failings, in as such as that you do not have a clear and concrete answer. But in a test, you are literally graded, and you are shown exactly the things you objectively got wrong in accordance with the grading of the test. So it is a lot more difficult to maintain that stoicism that comes with, I didn't do this. It feels a lot more personally targeted, because it is a lot more concise and a lot more, what's the word? Precise, but what's the, clinical, yes, clinical and surgical, that's the word that I was looking for. I wouldn't wax poetic, they might start talking in limericks or something. Plus, we don't have enough wax. It is true. I hope that I can put a lot of candles and things on here, because that would allow me to wax quite well. Boof. There we go. More building. Big building. Big square. Delightful square. Glorious square candescence. Actually, not so big square. But yes, I was gonna say I'm sorry to hear that you failed the test, but again, it's okay, because you'll probably get the opportunity to try again and again as many times as it takes. I know that's the other thing about the educational system, is that unfortunately repeated failures cost money in the form of retakes if you're later on in university times and so on. Today is the game between Croatia and Canada. Ah yes, the football, the soccer that I definitely am extremely well versed in. This is sarcasm. I have no earthly clue what is going on in the world of football, and I have not for the longest time. Oh, not Canada shit. Oh no, you got the fact that I wasn't gonna check you on wrong? How could you? It's Croatia and England. I think the moon orbiting our planet is beautician. Its waxes wanes. It is. The moon does wax and wane. It is true, you poetic. You poetic big small guy. And yes, I I do recognize the fact that the World Cup or something of such is going on right now, but I am not well versed in those things, and I do not follow them. I was checking out avenues for socialization, and I stumbled onto Irish pubs, and the Irish pubs are very much booked over the fact that the football is on, and that facilitates a lot of etiquette and people, well, not necessarily people, but the establishment having to enforce boundaries and rules to try to cull people acting less than normal in certain circumstances. Neither am I, only cheer for my people. That's good. It is important for one to have a national identity of some kind, one that I cannot say that I have particularly as somebody who just came to being one day in a hole. I don't necessarily feel that in touch with a national community at that level. The World Cup, the Holy Grail, the football trophy, the World Cup, therefore King Arthur was into footy. He might have been into footy, whatever that means. Who knows? Delightful. I believe this calls for another one. But yes, if people are happy with the football, then I am glad for them. It's just not a cultural phenomenon that has struck me in the same way as it has struck others. Am I missing out? Potentially, one could argue, yes. But ultimately, it is what it is. I'll probably never step foot on the moon. Am I missing out? Arguably. There it is, another beautiful tall tower. Glorious incandescence. I keep saying that because that's a quote from Dota, and I have so many of those quotes locked inside what constitutes as my brain. For reasons. Reasons unknown. Reasons doubtful and unknowable. Bloop. There we are. Delightful. Can I do the same with this as well? Yes, I can. Look at that. Do you think people who watch football are into feet? I mean, there is a Venn diagram of people that overlap between those two interests, so I don't believe that all of them are, but I do believe some of them are. Are there any sports that I'm into? That is an excellent question. I like tennis. I base my answer to that question based on the sports that I've actually engaged in physically, and I enjoy a bit of tennis. I am indifferent towards basketball, and I also am okay and neutral towards bowling. I believe those would be my three go-tos. Your favorite is volley? Oh yes, volleyball as well. That is sort of in the same vein as tennis. It is a variation where the object is different, but it is the same core principle. I do like games with a net. Oh yes, table tennis. Was it ping pong? That one I also liked particularly. Bowen, did you skip a word? I did say some. Ah, I did skip a word. You are correct. I guess I was elaborating on my own perception because I interpreted your sentence as all. What? Hello? Ah, my face broke for some reason. Anyway, oh. Skipping frames. I believe the fact that my frame skip synced with my internet, well, not my internet, because my phone is connected to my computer through the Wi-Fi, I believe I've gotten another piece of the puzzle as to why I occasionally drop frames. I believe it has to do with the fact that there are so many Wi-Fi enabled devices and the wires are getting crossed and mixed, and I will need to figure out how to fix that to the best of my ability. I've gotten another hint. Thank you, circumstances of this stream. Hydration, it shall be done. Shall be done in the name of this mug that I am not holding. Can you see me glow more? Can I? Nope. I've forgotten which button was the... there's the mug button. Mug button. Ha 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 ha. I guess the solution is to just turn on the mug manually. That actually looked like good hydration right there, and it felt like it too. Thank you for the hydration, YouTubian Oscar. Someday I'll update the mug, someday. It is on my list. It's just a very long list. The Wi-Fi is crossed, which is unfortunate. As they say, happy Wi-Fi, happy Li-Fi, yes. It is possible that occurred, Moose. I don't believe it did, but hopefully that didn't break everything. The cutout. The cutout for me after he said Li-Fi. Ha! Well, it is unfortunate that this keeps happening, but hey, my drop frame tracker stopped due to that disconnection. I think I discovered why I swapped out that cable, because it does that on occasion. So I believe by trying to make my setup better, I have inherently made it worse. So I will have to... I guess this is just going to be the theme now. Every time I stream, I need to have a list of things I need to fix. Actually, what I need to do is I will take the... Well, the problem is that the problems that have been happening last stream and this stream are things that only become available, well, not available, become visible when I'm actually streaming. But hello, Moose. Yes, try, in the effort to make something better, you actually made it worse. And that is an unfortunate thing, but hey, it is what it is. But welcome in, thank you for stopping by. I hope your circumstances have improved since the last time they were made known. But yes, I will need to figure out how to be able to troubleshoot connectivity issues before being able to go live on stream. I think that's the reason why this scuff has happened, because they are only problems that make themselves known when I've already hit the go live button. That's the issue with these issues, and it is very unfortunate and frustrating. But hey, it is what it is. What's important is to adapt and overcome. Fires everywhere, but we persist. It is bad to hear that the fires are still happening, but it's good to know that you are doing your best to persist. I do wish you good luck in that endeavor, and I have no doubt that you will persevere. While I'm suffering with the first world problems of my internet spazzing out while I'm trying to stream, you are unfortunately dealing with circumstances far more crippling. But so too it shall pass. And so too you shall move forward. But yes, I do believe it was a very major hint. So I will look into it after stream, as one normally does during these circumstances. What else can I add here? What more can be done in this topsy-turvy world that I have created? Deletion. Your internet does decide to misbehave now and then. Time out in the naughty corner for it, I think. See, that's the fun part, is that my internet used to be a diva. Back before I swapped out routers and gained a brand new one, and now I have a brand new one, and still I have problems of a different nature. Now the router doesn't overheat. I have even gone so far as to take away the fan from pointing in its direction. Now it is plagued by a myriad different circumstances, such as dropping frames, and now due to the cable that I've put into it, completely disconnecting entirely, which is, again, another set of I don't like. But hey, it's okay, we will deal. We will deal, and we will figure things out, because ultimately, like I said earlier in the stream, it's not a case of I can't, it's a case of I can, I just need to figure out how. And that is a Bowenthius brand philosophy that I would love to subscribe all of you to, because it has helped me immensely, and the fun thing is that all human nature is ultimately steeped in wanting to help your fellow man. It's just that some of us go about it the wrong way and end up causing more hurt than help in the long term. One problem solved, new ones pop up. Ultimately, it is the state of being, is to constantly be surrounded by problems and to have to find the solutions for them. And that is the lot in life that we have chosen by being alive and choosing to continue to be alive. And that is something that is the tax I am happy to pay over and over and over. Whack-a-mole, but with technology issues. Whack-a-mole, but with the internet, with the connection to the internet, especially considering that maybe these issues are outside of my control, because I live in a deep, deep pit, which means that the cable has not been able to be installed thoroughly enough. So I have to rely on satellite, 5G network towers in order to get my internet to allow me to stream as I do. Human? Nay. Chore? I'd rather not. Human. Woe is to be merrily, merrily fighting the sea. I don't know. I desire more towers. Ah. There we are. More of me, but less to see. That is another quote from Dota. I will keep doing that until morale improves. Even with all of these issues, even with the internet plaguing me and the connectivity problems, I am still having a whale of a time, and I hope you are as well. If not, you are welcome to provide me with any and all constructive criticisms that will allow me to overall improve the experience for both myself and everyone here. As is the case now, I have improved the tags for this stream to also include AMA, so any questions you have, you are free to ask, and I shall answer them to the best of my ability. Bada bing, bada booey. Having a lovely time is the main objective. It is indeed. It is indeed, and I believe that I've managed to accomplish it after a lot of circumstances changing, compromises, adapting, and so on and so forth. This channel has gone through many changes over the course of its inception. It started out as a desire for me to turn this into a career path, and it has evolved into me enjoying it simply for the love of the game itself, having fun with streaming, building a nice community, and being here for them, and to an extent for myself, because this is very freeing, and it unclogs the pipes, so to speak, the neurons, the emotional baggage, and so on, and it allows me and my stream of consciousness to be unhinged for 4 hours, which hopefully provides entertainment for the vast majority of you here. Which is, I hope, the reason why you continue to be here. But yes, funnily enough, I do believe, again, my subjective experiences, is that teenagehood and young adulthood, while you're still in official channels of educations through the system and are officially being graded and judged, for lack of a better term, based on your performance, is a lot of strain and a lot of pressure, especially to have on people who do not have their brains fully developed yet. That is, I believe, a very important piece of context that we need to be a lot more mindful of with regards to raising the next generation up. Does that make them incapable and something that needs to be coddled? No, of course not. But there needs to be a balance with these things. A very important balance needs to be struck. And it is very detrimental to one's mental health to just have these expectations and grading. And like I said, a graded paper is very objective in where exactly it shows you how and why you have been judged and graded the way you have. It shows you exactly how and where you messed up, and it can be very succinct. And I know it's done, like, everything has an explanation, and I know that it is done exactly to give you to maximize the amount of feedback as is possible in an objective and concrete manner, and that really helps a lot, because as an adult I would very much appreciate having that sort of environment give me that conducive feedback, because it is, again, like I said, because the older you get, the more nuanced feedback becomes and more obtuse it is, and you have to figure things out on your own without people expressly or necessarily telling you what's wrong and what's right and so on and so forth. So, it is very understandable why they would do that, but to a prepubescent teenager who has had their soul crushed more times than not, it can be very taxing on ye old emotions. Oh, I can do that. That's fun. Adorable. I don't want to do that. Cool. I mean, there is the occasional viewer whose skeleton mysteriously is magically brought to them this stream. I mean, yes, well, I mean, not everything is voluntary. Sometimes your skeleton has a will on its own. I can't be held responsible. I'm merely an Osteomancer, so what if I can telekinetically control your entire skeletal system? That's something I do only with consent. So, you know. You are here because hopefully you choose to be here. Something magical has occurred. Ah. I have been informed that there is an unused app on my cellular device. Remember back in the day when they used to be called cellular devices? That was a time. A time, I am certain, is still prevalent. I keep saying prevalent, and that's not a word. Prevalent to this day. Yep. And there we are. Wait till they incorporate them into our flesh. They will become cellular once more. I mean, yeah, that's where we're headed to in this stage of evolution, where I'm sure that in 20 or 50 or so years, however long it takes us, eventually we'll get to the brain chips directly inserted into our skulls and craniums, which will indeed loop us all the way back to referring to things as cellular, because they're cellularly integrated. I don't think I've ever called my phone a cellular device. I believe that's more of like an official clinical technical term that is more used to denote having your phone be on airplane mode when you're in a plane. Like, I believe that's where it comes from. Remember to turn off your cellular device or set it to airplane mode or something like that. But that is vernacular that is gone the way of the dodo bird, so to speak. That's right, Bowen. With enough tech, we can stage evolution. I mean, ultimately, that is what we are trying to do with our existence, is that we are, as a species, extremely impatient and extremely prone to quick evolutions because the time is now, and we want to maximize our existence now because this is the one perspective we have, and this is the one life we've been given, so we want to do the most with it, because we believe it is finite. Which, in a sense, it is. So it is understandable and explainable that human evolution has come the way it has. But at the same time, it is important for one to stop and smell the roses. There is, for all of our faults and all of the potential nuclear threats and imminent disaster awaiting us, there is still beauty in this world, had one the courage to perceive it. So it is important to stop and perceive said beauty for an extended period of time before continuing onwards in their existence. Just a small ad before you can find it, still faster than when you look at it. It's fine, I can zone out for 30 seconds before it pings to life. Brain chips would potentially be very useful. I lose stuff so often, having it attached would be most welcome. I mean, what I imagine is going to happen in the future, and this is my Jetsons prediction, is that we're going to have integrated AI assistants in our brains that are constantly going to be giving us lists, reminding us of things, and just giving us an incredible convenience that will allow us to use even less of our brain power than we do already, which you could argue is a detriment of its own accord, but that's neither here nor there and is a subjective thing. I do not wish for Siri to be in my brain, though. Yeah, see, that's the thing. Where does one draw the line? The thing is that a lot of people are very much against the notion of having chips put directly into their brain, but that's the notion currently. Who knows what the sentiment's going to be in 20, 30, 40 years from now? I mean, people were very adamant against the constant usage of phones. And they were showcasing pictures of people on their phones on a bus and the lack of socialization and so on and so forth. But that's just a thing that comes with the times. The same picture could be done with the newspaper and so on and so forth. So again, it is a product of its time and a product of the current beliefs and perceptions. It is difficult to embrace new things because the old things took effort to get used to, and we don't want to expend the same effort getting used to new things. To an extent, it is understandable, but simultaneously, it is important for one to not stagnate in this life. At long last, I have finally learned my true name, and I will find peace in this life. Bloop. That is a quote from a ancient Newgrounds cartoon called Swords of Beef. And it was simply a trailer for a greater cartoon, and I do not believe it ever came into fruition. And that is yet another promise that has been broken, and that's something that I feel very guilty and conscious over, so I will do my absolute utmost to limit the amount of promise, well, I say promises, but they're simply just things that I say that I will do, and then they end up not happening, and I just feel bad because it feels like a promise even though it's not, and it's human psyche, and so on and so forth. And time didn't exist back in the day. I will never forgive that one dude for discovering it. I'll never forgive that one dude for granting the gift of fire and knowledge to man. Those birds deserve to constantly peck at his organs that will regenerate the next day so he can experience the torment over and over again ad infinitum. Ad infinitum. Gosh, imagine never being late to anything because late isn't a concept. Imagine experiencing your entire life from start to finish all at the same time because time doesn't exist. Just everything happens all at once. Everything everywhere all at once. I just realized I didn't have I think last stream I broached this subject where I was asked the question, what is your favorite movie? And I didn't have an answer. I just realized I do now. It's Everything Everywhere all at once. Favorite movie of all time. That's the one. There we go. Easy. Done. I completely forgot that movie existed. For all of the beautiful experiences I had while watching that film, I feel ashamed of the fact that I actually forgot about it. But now I remember, so now that's my answer. Everything Everywhere All at Once. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you see it. It's a good movie. So there you go. I found the answer from Yesterstream. The answer to the question from Yesterstream. Noted, I will add that to my list of movies to watch. You didn't have an answer, but you had an answer, and you will have the answer, and you will never have the answer. Yes, time is an immortal soup. Ooh, I just realized that the body is yapping. Well, the body is working on this castle while the Bowenthius is yapping. And I didn't realize that I actually finally managed to complete the loop for the castle. Sick. I actually did it. Good job, me. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna kill this. Am I gonna kill it? Yes, I will. Ooh. What the? Neat! That's a oh! Was that always a thing? I'm gonna assume that was always a thing. Fascinating. Ah, that is the border of my realm, so let me put that over there. Lower it down a bit, make it... Ah, there we... Aha! This is the thing that I wanted to do. There we are. There we are. I didn't know I could actually move. Yes, I can. Oh my god, I can move these. And it makes it really glitchy because it has to move in accordance with all of these blocks that I've placed. Right, cool. Delightful. I'm gonna add even more towers here now because I can, because I want to. Oh, it is such a lovely feeling to do things simply for no other reason that you want to, because it looks cool, because it feels neat. That has been, I feel, the guiding principle of my life, is that most of my greatest accomplishments have been done because of the notion of, hey, that feels cool, that looks cool, and it feels cool. Same thing with my face, same thing with my bonkles. Those are honestly the two things that I feel like I'm most proud of, because they are the crowning achievements. But as I say that, I remind myself of my voice acting endeavors and my level designing, and those are also very cool. I'm just not looking at them directly. I can directly see my barnacles in my face right now, so I guess that's why those two things come to mind. But I've had many an achievement just simply based on the principle of I want to do this thing because it feels like it would be cool, and it ends up being very cool. That is not what I endeavored to make. I know how the ground move. I like how the ground moves with those tools. They are like the shaders and the programming and the things that they've done to make this game feel as smooth as they do are extremely satisfying. And my hats, if I was wearing a hat, would be off to the developers of this game. They have really gone above and beyond. It is very nicely done. Buy oinkles, buy them now. You can! You indeed do have quite a long list of fun, exciting achievements that you should be proud of, and it is important to not forget them, even in times of woe. Ah! Was it that one? Yes, it was. Oh. Oh, you have been paywalled, my friend. It seems your backup wallet doesn't have enough funds. How unfortunate. Well, that's okay. I can afford to give myself a hat. So it's not just my mug not working, it's everything not working. I think this has to do with a recent announcement by Mix It Up where something went awry. So I will also have to figure out, okay, so it's all of the things not working, it's not just the mug. And yes, And of course it's things breaking, well, I mean, that's usually how things break, but I will have to manually plug in the hat. Hold on. You are going to see some shenaniganry, but it is a necessary evil. This is the programming necessary to do half of the redeems. There it is. Oh. Yar, fiddly-dee, being a pirate is alright with me. Do what you want, cause a pirate is free. Yar, a pirate. What amazes me about my current classification of garb and wear is that even though this is an old model that worked very well with the 1.0 and the 2.0 and onwards, it feels like it fits quite well with my current model and current setup, and it is quite nice. I will still be endeavouring to update my hat and make it better, but that'll be a different. I feel like the current rendition worked quite well, all on its own anyway. It fits like a pirate's glove, it does. It is absolutely a beautiful thing. Aye, 'tis the pirate's life, me hearties, me fellows, me buckos, me beautiful boys. I was gonna be having a beautiful vacation this year, where I was gonna go sail the 7 seas on me beautiful ship, and I was gonna have a beautiful time on the golden sands of a sun-kissed shore, but unfortunately circumstances changed and I had to cancel. So now I'm saving me trip to next year, and that's perfectly fine and okay. Circumstances sometimes happen, which are outside of your control, and it is very important for you to not admonish and chastise yourself over it, and to accept that things might not always happen the way we expect them to, which brings me back to my great dissertation on the vices of expectations. You couldn't even afford the pirate redeem. What kind of pity are you offering me, Bowen? I'm offering you the pity that it's been such a long time since the piracy has come out that I'd wanted to do it for its own sake. I do not expect it to always happen, me hearty, but I do. I am a generous being from time to time, but ultimately it is you trying to cheat the system because you don't want to spare or spend any of your schmeckles on your main account. It is a freebie that I give only once, when I feel like it, and I very much felt like it, so consider this gift given freely from me to ye all, O skull. Unfortunately, that's another thing that I can talk about, is that my gambit regarding going free did not pay out the way I expected it to, which is another thing that I had to deal with regards to circumstances and expectations, is I was thinking that my transition over to Streamloots and having the cards and so on would be a great boost, and I would be able to rake in the exact same amount of funds I would during my affiliate days, but that has not been the case, and that is ultimately alright, because I'm not necessarily in it for the money. I am in it for the experience with you all, and the beautiful ability for me to express my thoughts without condemnation. I have given myself this space and I use it well enough. But ultimately it did not go the way it would have been nice if it was, but ultimately it's not. It is crying over spilled milk that it didn't work the way it did. I'm not a corporate executive. I don't know how to market myself to an accurate extent, to the point where I just rake in the money for the virtue of being alive. I have not reached that point in my career yet. And I do not know how to do that, and I don't even know whether or not it's something that I want to do with myself. It is something that would be very nice to have. I mean, that's ultimately the dream of every streamer, is to be able to afford a full-time salary while doing this, while just sitting there and streaming for an approximate amount of time and just playing games and having fun and chatting with the people. It is the dream career, but ultimately it is a lot of social battery drain and nonsense that I ultimately decided I would be against as a full-time career, which is why I made the decisions that I made in my hearty young days of a year ago or so. I believe we're coming up on my unaffiliate anniversary pretty darn soon, so hey, there we are. We've got ourselves the cube, and we've got ourselves another beautiful set of towering pillars and so on and so forth. Give me another freebie and I'll accuse you of preferential treatment. I feel like I'm preferentially treating you enough, me boy. 24-hour stream. I don't know if that's something that I'll be doing. That's actually exactly The very notion why I decided to go against becoming a full-time streamer is just saying that sentence, just reading the phrase 24-hour stream gave me anxiety, and I don't even have the nervous system to have anxiety. That's how powerful my discontent with that notion became. And that's okay. Like, I had expectations for stream loots, and I had expectations for Ko-Fi that would start raking in the same amount of funds that I saw when I was affiliated and people were giving out gift subs and were subscribing for 6 months and so on and so forth. But that didn't happen, and it's okay for one to be honest with their feelings. I'm disappointed, but I'm not disappointed because they didn't happen. I'm disappointed because I had the wrong expectations. And that is on me, and I shouldn't have been that way. And again, it is perfectly okay that things didn't happen the way I expected them to. Expectations are a vice, in my opinion. It is okay for one to keep them very tempered or let go of them entirely. Ooh. Beautiful walls, bodacious buildings. There we are. Rise! Glorious. Delightful. Where was I? I would highly not recommend 24-hour streams. Throw that idea far, far away. I mean... yeah, it's not something I feel like I would ever consider doing in my current lineup. I very much lose the juice after 4 hours. And I believe the longest stream I ever did was 7 or 8 or so hours, and that honestly felt doable, but simultaneously I can't 100% say that I had fun while sitting here talking to all of you. It was exhausting, it was taxing. The thing is that when it comes to streaming, like, I have a measuring stick for the things that I enjoy and the things that I do not. And the measuring stick is, does it make me feel the same way I feel when I voice act? Because voice acting for me is the perfect combination of the exact amount of effort, the exact amount of fun, it's just, to me, it is the perfect thing that I love doing. And I measure every other activity, or at least I am now conscious of that fact, with voice acting. And streaming, although it is very fun, it is in its own way, I can only do it for so long before I become fatigued and desire for other things. And streaming 5 days a week for 4 to 6 hours every day just seemed like an extremely fatiguing thing for me to do, and that's why I ultimately decided on the course of action that I am currently on, that you see before yourselves. And so, yeah. Maybe there will come a time where... well, see, that's the thing is, my problem is, and this is another thing that I've discovered about myself, is when I find something that I like, I go too hard, too fast, I burn myself out, then I abandon it and never touch it again. Understandable, it does drain the batteries, it very much does, especially if you're more of an introverted inclination. I have this problem where I go very much overboard with things, get fatigued and burned out, and I immediately abandon it and go on to greener pastures. Examples of this include my digital portfolio with Lego... full stop. I forgot the name of the program, but there's basically a program that allows you to emulate Legos digitally, and you can play with a very extensive database of Lego pieces, and that allowed me to construct some very nice and big mocks that I normally wouldn't be able to because of budgetary constraints with real-life pieces, and I managed to construct this gigantic legged automaton that had a tank for a head, and I was extremely proud of it, to the point where it got awards on the site. I believe it's called Brickling Studio, the program, actually. Gotta find that fine balancing act between empowering and draining that neurospicy desire to give new things 5 million % until poof burnout. Yes, that vice of mine that I very much have become aware of and am trying to contend with. And I will get on to how I'm contending with it in a bit, but my point is that, With Bricklink Studios, I had a lot of fun with it. I made a lot of really good entries, some of which got became front page news and received awards and a lot of attention and so on and so forth. I even got invited to a contest, which I didn't do anything about. But it also additionally got picked up by those, well, not necessarily slop channels, but those channels that take pieces on the Bricklink Studio website and just reconstruct them in the form of YouTube shorts and rake in millions of views. I got picked up by one of those channels, and of course they credited me, but ultimately they got to rake in the millions of views on their channel by basically showing a 3D simulation of my mock, which I spend weeks and months on, being built within the span of 30 seconds. And that was a high point, and I used that to use it as a portfolio to apply for positions in LEGO as a corporation themselves, because I thought that I was very good, and I was, but it wasn't necessarily an indictment that I would get a job, and I recognize that now. But back then I was very self-conscious about the fact that yet again it was yet another avenue that immediately declined me for anything I would even dare to apply to. And I stopped doing that hobby altogether, and my account has remained unused and dormant for many years at this point. And it is something that I don't necessarily regret, but I just don't have the time to go back to it, and it would probably be something that I'd be willing to pick up again at some point in my existence, but now is not that time. But that's just an example of a hobby that I gave my 100% of, had very sky-high and false expectations that was going to be a career opener, it was going to take me to the moon, and I was going to become a famous Lego builder man who was employed at Lego. And then when that didn't happen, I was so disappointed that I gave up on the whole thing and just abandoned it full force, and that's not a way to be. And the good news in this story is that I've learned from that experience, and now I am treating streaming in a completely different way. Streaming, I could have 100% abandoned when I realized that it's not something that I want to do professionally as a career, but instead of doing that, which is my usual method of dealing with things, I decided to stick through it. I decided to set boundaries and change the way I do streaming in an effort to have it be more comfortable for myself. And I did, and I'm here now, and I'm still streaming. Almost a year after I had those revelations and those thoughts. And I am very proud of that fact, even though it feels like it was... Perhaps one day we'll call you back. Perhaps one day, but with regards to streaming, I felt like there was more on the line if I quit streaming. Like, I felt like I tied a bit of my self-worth and my perception to it, where I would feel like an actual failure if I quit it. So I scrambled my brain to find out a way where I could not quit it, but also have it not be as exhausting as it used to be. It was exhausting because I had to keep up with the social medias, and that is just not something that I find fun, but it is a necessary evil for this job, and it is something that I have now almost completely thrown to the wayside. The only thing that I do with regards to social media and self-promotion is I just post on Blue Sky that I'm streaming every Bowenthius when I do so, and I mark myself as streaming for 4 hours. That is the extent. And my point is that now that I've done that and I've dialed it back and I've decided to lay off the gas pedal, I am now comfortable enough where I can get used to this schedule. I can get used to just streaming once a week every Wednesday, and I can slowly start to expand my circle of comfort. Instead of starting off really fast and giving it 5 million%, as Moose put it, start off very, very tiny and very steadily. Do very, very small things. I don't know why I didn't do this sooner, but I employed a similar train of thinking with my modeling career, wherein I started off with Blockbench because Blender was way too intimidating. I started off with a very small model. I made a treasure chest, which was essentially just learning the basics and making a box with a half cylinder for the lid. And that worked out very well, and then I made the ram skull, and then I made the truck, and so on and so forth. But that was a slow progression that did not leave me feeling fatigued, burned out, overwhelmed, or any of those things. And I very much believe, subjectively, that it is the quote-unquote right way to start things if you want them to be long-lasting and fruitful. Streaming has now lasted 2 or so years for me, which is a great milestone. You found good balance with streaming once a week. Give something to look forward to each week. Thank you. I am glad that you perceive it that way. And yes, because I am not fatigued with streaming once a week, and it's been a delightful endeavor, I have even had thoughts about wanting to extend my streaming to 1 more day. Can you imagine it streaming 2 days a week? My God. But it is something that I've had to, again, scale back on actually putting into action, because while on paper it sounds great because yay, more streaming, the reality is that that is going to eat yet another day that I have to schedule around and be very concise with, because the one thing that I'm trying to do with this new schedule is keep to it. I have rescheduled many things around the Bowenthius in an effort to just have that consistency and always have that stream, because that's the one thing that I dislike, is the notion of course circumstances happen outside of our control, but having to cancel and having to reschedule feels like a failure to me that I would rather avoid. Need to come up with a new bow and bone day if that happens. Yes, I've actually been thinking about that. Enjoying building, it's looking good from here. Thank you, Radmage. I'm glad you think so. I believe it looks rather spicy as well. I've actually managed to finish the main courtyard, I suppose, and it is looking good. Yeah, I believe so. Thank you for stopping by. I hope this day has been treating you well. Oh no. That was the wrong thing to do. Ooh. How did I do that? How the heckly-deckly did I just do that? I don't know how I did that. What I'm trying to do is reduce the amount of... fascinating. Is there some sort of way for me to actually slide it down so it's not... I appreciate that over-communicating can leave you feeling very disheartened when you're unable to follow through. Yes! Very much so. It is... It is something that I'm very self-conscious of, that I keep, even though they're not technically promises, I keep announcing and saying things that I intend to do, and then they never happen, and I feel very self-conscious because it makes me feel like I'm misleading my audience. Hello, Linky. Welcome in. Keeping at least a partial schedule is healthy? Probably. Yes. Probably. Wednesday and tomorrow. Tomorrow? Like... I mean, that's tomorrow. But I have just thought about the notion of just calling it Bo Tuesdays or Bo Thursdays. But Bo Wednesday just rolls off the tongue so well, so I have been workshopping different days. Bo Fridays. No, not really. Doesn't gel all too well, I do not think. Bah. I did not want to do that, game. Give me my tools back, please. Why can't I select this now? It's not... Oh, there we go. Fridays, but, might give the wrong idea. I mean, if you like chicken thighs, they might not, or if I was poultry-themed in any way, shape, or form, that could probably work, but I don't think it's thematically fitting. I started setting a schedule. It has made me more consistent on some things, but now I'm late for everything. Not very wizard-like of me. Well, a wizard sometimes can be late. Them arriving precisely when they are needed is a conspiracy started by Big Hat by the big hat corporation. Do not believe the propaganda. Be your own wizard with your own standards. And if your standard is to be on time, then that is perfectly valid, because that is something you chose, not something that was societally thrust upon you. It is very important to make that distinction. I don't go on massive killing sprees, not because I was told it's a bad thing, but because I believe it's a bad thing for my own accord. I think for myself, and I've reached that conclusion on my own accord, after being presented with an overwhelmingly substantial amount of evidence showing me why that would be a morally bankrupt decision to make, of course. Good to know you believe that to be a bad thing. I know, right? It's just a funny example to bring up, but it illustrates. Like, you think, you hear me saying that and you think, oh, that's really obvious, what are you, stupid? But it's very important for one to actually examine their core beliefs in their programming, because it sometimes isn't as obvious. It's a lot more subtle with other things. Like, sure, like, don't kill is an obvious one, but what about other things? More insidious things, more subtle things that actually are telling about your own prejudices and upbringing. So it is very important to be vigilant and question everything, because another thing that I believe is that to question is to be curious, and to be curious is the essence of life. You can put that on my tombstone if I was an immortal. Or at least I think I am. I've existed for 5 years thus far. I'm sure I'll either disappear one day suddenly, or I'll continue to live indefinitely. Who knows what the future holds? I don't, which is why I try to live in the here and the now. Bah. Bah. Good enough. I love that that has actually entered my vocabulary nowadays. I love that good enough is an actual valid metric for me, because back in the day, it was not. And I suffered a lot those days, mentally speaking. Does this look good? I do not know. We're all immortal until proven or otherwise. It is true, it is true. Kill is the cure. There we go. Another Dota 2 quote. I will keep pumping those out until, I don't know, I don't even know, until the heat death of the universe? That sounds like a good idea. Nope. Wrong button. You know what? I think this is fine. Actually, no, I can increase the size of this. There we go. This can become taller. And then the other thing can become taller, but it's still shorter. There we go. I figured it out. I told my mom I was invincible as a child. I'm still here and fully intact, so I must have been correct. Exactly. Alright, I must have waved to the lurk bush. Have yourself a lovely, jovely rest of the stream. Thank you, Moose. Thank you for stopping by. I hope it all goes well. Enjoy your lurk bush and the rest of your day. I hope all goes well. My thoughts are with you. Telepathic Moose understands the importance of discretion and has taken it upon themselves to lurk. Take care. That is a reference to my role as the consul for Raising the Bar Redux, the Half-Life 2 modification that aims to recreate a lot of lost beta elements of early in-house development of Half-Life 2 before it became the thing that we know of it today. Tuesday? I like Tuesday. Like Osteos. What's your favorite cereal? Osteos. Osteos Day. Thursday. Oh, like Theus. Actually, Bowenthius Day. Bowenthues Day? Bowenthius sounds okay. Decisions. Just gonna hide this. Now the question is, what do I... Ah, that's what I do. There we go. Ah! Keep doing that thing that I do not want to do. There we are. Can I make it more... There we go. It needs to be more... Bah. You can gather based on my gameplay that my imprecision is matched by none. This is actually a problem because I do this sort of thing professionally from time to time, so my... That's actually, there's a popular question that says, if you could go back in the past, what would you tell, like, a 10-year-old version of yourself, or a 15-year-old version, yada yada. I think the thing that I would tell myself from the past is, you know, shortcuts feel like they're an overwhelming thing that is for smart people, and you're a big dum-dum and you can't learn shortcuts. Well, don't think that. Learn shortcuts. They are actually a lot easier than you think. They are very helpful, and they are an overall betterment to your health and well-being. So learn computer shortcuts. And especially learn the shortcuts of your program of choice. I have learned many shortcuts in Blender, and I am all the better for it. I could recommend it for days. That's good. I like straight lines, and I cannot line. Straight lines. This is definitely how you're meant to do this. I have no doubt that this is what the developers intended. I get this to be taller, I can change this to be shorter, and there we go. Consume me, we will become one entity with all the knowledge and power of the two of us. I would tell myself that my wish wasn't impossible after all. I feel like I can wager a guess at what you're referring to. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, and I also do apologize if I'm being insensitive, but this have anything to do with your possible transition? I feel like that is a very important topic for a lot of people, and it is also very important for one to realize that and ask themselves and express the bravery necessary to go through with that whole endeavor, so... If that's what you're talking about, congratulations! You went through with it, and you're presumably all the better for it. You could go back... If I could go back in time, I would just tell myself, you were right. And leave it. Oh god! I see you're an agent of chaos, odd bloke. I see you are very much an agent of chaos. Respectable. There we are. Now it's even more... Actually, I could just do that with all of them. So... Deletion, erasure, the quirk from My Hero Academia is something that I'm not doing right now, because this is very targeted and very specific. I knew as a kid, I just didn't think it was possible. Oh! That must have been... Gotta confuse the past. The sequel to Samurai Jack. Gotta get back to confuse the past. Samurai Whack. I cannot even fathom the notion of knowing that there is something fundamentally wrong with the body that you were given and the need to enact changes in one way or another from childhood and not having the... It's not just societal stigma against the whole thing, but it also has to do with our own programming and our own internalized lack of belief that it can happen. So... I mean, it happened now rather than never, so there's always a silver lining to these things. But yeah, I can only imagine how difficult it must have been to have to live with that on the daily for years at a time. So I'm glad that you are in better circumstances now. If I could have one thing to say to my young self, it would be invest in Apple stock. Oh yeah, that is the obvious thing, is like, if I could go back, I would be immediately, okay, so there's this Bitcoin thing, and also AMD stocks, and also, actually not Intel stocks, because, okay, Intel when they dip below 20, but very much AMD stocks because they were pennies about 10 years ago, and now they're worth 100,000 times that. Also Nvidia. All of those things, if you put investments into those, you would be set for life. That feels like the obvious thing, of course. And time-traveling Bowen. Buy more Bionicle before they lessen. Here. Here with the lottery numbers. That is, honestly, yes. Okay, so here's these stocks that you need to buy at these times, and you will become a millionaire so we can procure more Legos. I don't even remember. I believe somebody said that the correct term isn't actually Legos, it's just Lego. But I keep saying Legos because that's my own programming, and that's okay. Yeah, the stepdad making sure I knew how he felt about cross-dressers wasn't fun, but now I'm free. I'm happy to hear that you're free now, yeah. I also have similar circumstances, or have had in the past. I have memories of this where I have also had parental figures of authority telling me how disowned I would be if I even slightly deviated from the societally accepted heterosexual norms. And that was, again, not a very fun circumstance to grow up with, so I probably know about 1/100th of what you went through, so my condolences, but like I said, well, as is the case now, you are in better circumstances, and the past is in the past, you cannot change it. It is something that you look to be informed of, but it is not something that should define you, and instead, the now should define you because you have control over the now. Return to the future to find yourself the owner of Granny Smith's. Did you know that Apple named themselves Apple because it started with the letter A and they wanted to appear earlier in the alphabetical sorting of the phone book? Wow. Remember the phone book, everybody? That was a thing, probably. More walls! Huh! Huh. Is that... Oh, good. Without our past, we wouldn't have our present. It is true. The past is very informative of us, but it is not something that we can change. It is something that we can learn from. Ultimately, we are our experiences. The person we are today is because of the experiences we've had in the past, so ultimately, with that in mind, it is still within our agency to be better. Yoink, yoink, yoink. Goodbye, the sheep. Oh, the sheeple, there we go. And now it is only 1-1, so it is a straight line. Delightful. Hey, if you had to choose, would you rather know when you die or how you die? I suppose when, because how would just make me overly paranoid of the object of my death. So when, I think, would be a lot more freeing, because I know that I would have exactly this amount of time. What would actually stress me the fuck out is if, based on my knowledge, if, like, I got told... Because ultimately, our decisions constantly evolve and change the day where we will die. Like, the decision you make now will impact your life tomorrow, and so on and so forth. So it's constantly building. So my point is that your date of death is constantly changing and shifting based on the choices you make and the circumstances that govern your life. So if I got a simple static date of when I would die, I'd be fine with that because that gives you perspective and so on. But if I got a constantly looming sort of Damocles style clock that constantly shifted based on the decisions that I made, that would drive me insane. Basically, there was actually an episode of Rick and Morty that explored this exact phenomenon where Morty got a crystal that gave him the immediate future, and he became obsessed with that crystal because it showed him an immediate future where he got together with his girlfriend, so he became obsessed with it, and he was constantly trying to escape the fate of not being with her. And that is just the recipe to be driven mad. I believe also Rick and Morty said it, that people who are trying to escape death died a long time ago. People that are paranoid about dying and are doing everything in their power to escape death died a long time ago. In the metaphorical sense that they are no longer particularly living as such, and are instead just shells of their former selves. Better and better. I am Father Gregory. I trust you've met my congregation. Go back in time, wear a cloak, meet your past self if they ever heard... Ask if they ever heard of the tragedy of Dark Plagueis the Wise. It's not a story the Jedi would tell you. Don't tell me it's a shopping cart to the shins. No, not the shins. That's where I keep my most vital organs. That's actually the story to the truth, the Achilles heel to my Bowenthius armor. All of my vital organs are actually kept in the trousers. Everything else is padding. That's brilliant. That's brilliant! I love that. It looks great. Have we? Have we? Or have we not? Well, no! I didn't want to combine those two. How dare you, game? How dare you be convenient without actually reading my mind? Who allowed you such things? Yeah, because this combines. I don't want this to combine. Do not combine. Just give me a wall, I dare say. Good. There we go. It didn't combine because I want the walls to be different lengths. There we go. This can be taller. Nope. It would be annoying to choose how you die and... To choose how you die and be told a word that has no real meaning yet. Ah, yes. You will be killed by a... Ah, yes. Of course, that, I remember seeing a few stories where a character sees a bad future which causes the character to fall into despair, and this despair ended up being the reason for the future that the character saw. Yes, I believe that is the definition of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it is very much important to not let... hearsay or the future or whatever define you. What should, in my opinion, define you the most is what you do here and now. And taking care of yourself to have as good of a future as you can make it. But what happens in the future isn't something that... Well... I was gonna say it's not something that you can control, but you control it with what you do in the present. So it is something that you can control. I guess it's... not something that you should stress over and, in fact, welcome as an opportunity to be better today because everything you do today accumulates in the future. So, yes. You will die of Bowen's disease, huh? Yeah, you will be the first and only victim. And you will actually appear as an episode of Dr. House because Dr. House deals with very obscure diseases. Deletion. I did not want that to happen, game. Ha. There we are. Huh. We've got multiple walls. One taller, one shorter. And one that's the tallest, even. A multitude of broken walls mark my sanctuary. In fact, I'm gonna delete that entirely. Move! Away with you! There we are. Knowing the future might break me. Free will is very important to me, and that would kind of rule that out. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily rule it out, but it would... I guess it would be a form of spoiler, and it would color your that's the thing. I think being told the future is damning because it colors your perception. And what we have is our perception. Reality is the way we perceive it. So I think that's why being able to know the future for a fact would be as damning as it is. Because it colors your perceptions in a very strong way. Will you know if the future where you know the future or the future that existed before you knew the future? And does knowing the future inevitably change the way the future actually acts? Will the virtue of having that perception inevitably invoke it? Or is it immutable, or is it something that is immediately going to change? I believe that every action we do has an immediate effect. Same thing with the Morty Crystal episode. Every little thing he did had an immediate impact. Aha! Good stuff. Good stuff right there. I remember a story where a father was told his son would kill him, but he didn't let that dictate his action, so he still cared and raised his son. Then much later on in life, at old age, his son gave him one last hug and gave him mercy. It was a nice story. One last hug. Was told his son would kill him. Yeah. Again, that's the fun thing, is that you can choose whether or not this revelation colors your perception or not. It is ultimately a conscious decision that you can make. Will you let this define you, or will you rise above it? You can consciously do one or the other. Neither is inherently the right or wrong answer. They're just answers. I guess that's the difficulty with becoming older and wiser, is that everything is gray and nuanced. I'm so tired. I'm too tired to bloom in spell check. That's okay. No worries, my friend. I understand. I can read between the hungs. Wasn't that a Tumblr thing or something? I mean, everything has a... origin. I remember seeing a few stories where a character sees a bad future which causes the character to fall into despair. Oh yeah, I read that already. Probably, I don't know, been a long time. I mean, ultimately, we are influenced and programmed by a wide myriad and variety of things, to the point where we sometimes forget the origin point of those myriad things. Ha! Better and better. Oh yeah, I wanted to add parapets. Can I? No. Want to add something in here. This is a empty area to a certain extent, but look at this place. We've managed to build it up quite nicely, I think. I honestly don't know which would be the best angle of it, because they're all good angles. Like, this one looks great. This one looks great. It's also asymmetrical, so that means that I can have different lengths of it. Also, I think this is my favorite one. So much divinity in this. The future is undecided. I find it very fascinating how, in the midst of philosophy, one could contradict themselves very easily. It is a fascinating thing to consider and think about. Looking very industrial. The stones cold chanting. The story of the Castle series is as thus. Secret undisclosed military operation is tasked with finding a resource that could allow them to tip the scales of conquest and war. And as such, they send their best and brightest to research these unknown locations of strange castles. Investigating them yields a plethora of horrifying monsters and creatures, but also revelations of an ancient species that wielded great psionic and telepathic power that went extinct eons ago. Detailed within these books is also the notion of a vast power source, which would allow this military-industrial complex to tip the scales and save the dying Earth in a way that basically I get to save the world by being the one in charge because I know what's best and yada yada. They're not necessarily the good guys. We haven't even started with the details of the castle. That is true. There are so many windows that I have to make and I haven't even made this. So this is very far from being finished. There have to be so many windows and that's going to be a very tedious amount of work, but that's okay. We live for it. But yes. In the first castle they researched, they discovered a giant snake monster, and the Special Infiltration Operations Specialist, who is very special and very cool and very special, was named Etrius, and he was tasked with infiltrating and examining that castle, and he got back from it after slaying a big dragon. By the way, I'm describing the story of a stick figure series from 2004-ish. 2002-3-ish era. Early 2000s, so keep in mind I am describing it in way more pizzazz and nuance than it actually was, but it was really good, really cool for the time. So after that successful mission, he went to a second castle and retrieved the second book. He was overwhelmed by flesh-eating demons, and he was hospitalized for some time. Oh, fences. I cannot put fences on structures. Ah, can I? Yes! These are the kind of windows I require, yes. I will need to put 50 billion of these. That will be a tall order, but it's an order I can hopefully abide by. I wish I could just put holes. Or change the window to be an empty hole. The only thing I can do is change the pane. Unfortunate, but not something I can't deal with. Anyway. After the second castle infiltration mission went by successfully, the guy was hospitalized, and through the second book, they gained information of the location of the third castle, which was the biggest of them all, and held the magical MacGuffin power source of the ancient race known simply as the Ancients, who slaughtered each other indiscriminately, used telepathic powers to fight each other, which ended up summoning the demon race. Anyway, third castle. They go to it with a full team this time. Etrius, our boy, a bunch of other guys in the form of demolitions expert Boomer, whatever the hell the guy named Beecher was an expert in, the guy with the sword, who was Lloyd, and our infiltration tactical espionage specialist Etrius, of course. I am not... what's the word I'm looking for? I am not embarrassed to admit that my love of names ending with IUS started with this series, in the form of Etrius' name. Etrius, I think, is a really cool name. So, I believe that is what set off a very long chain of events that eventually ended up and resulted in the culmination of the being you see before you, as we are echoes of the past, but we should not let it... The past defines us, but we should not let it control us. We have the power to choose. The past is a really good tool to inform us, keep us humble, keep us sane, but it should not control us. There we go, I think that's a better way, because I felt like I was, with my discussion with Radmage, I feel like I was accidentally slipping into the realm of, paradox and contradiction, so there we go, there's my, not refutement, but there's my, salvaging of the continuity, I suppose. Celsius, gotta be one of Bowen's favorite names. It is not, actually. A lot of Roman general names, actually, I've named... Can't spell Bowenthius without us. Like and subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That's what they say nowadays, isn't it? Actually, yes, Cassius. I was just gonna say that I have 3 hard drives on my computer, and they're named in ascending order. Descending order. Is it descending? I don't know which order, but one of them is called Core Cassius, which is the C drive. The other one is called Core Decimus, which is the D drive. And this one took me a while to figure out, but the third one is called Core Epicurus for the E drive. So very much all of my hard drives are named in such a manner. So we've got Cassius, Decimus, and Epicurus. Or Epicurus? One or the other. I just realized I could have just named it Etrius. I am a fun guy. That starts with an E. Paradox. It must be a Who episode. I have never watched an episode of Doctor Who in my life. And that's not something that I am proud of, but it is something that I can say is a fact. No biggest dickest drive? What will happen when I say the name biggest dickus? Is that funny? Is it funny when I say the name biggest dickus? Why, yes, sir, it is. That is a treasure of the national variety. If you're ever curious, I'd start with Don't Blink. Or you'll miss it. There is a manga called Blame! About a city built by AI without anyone to control it. Stairs that ascend for miles, doors that lead to nothing but skyscrapers pointed down toward where ground should be, an infinite city that stretches too far. I think I've actually heard of that one. At least I remember visuals that were implanted within my mind's eye due to a very memorable series that had similar architecture of infinitely spanning corridors about an AI that just kept creating and building and multiplying, and it just made an infinite set of architecture, kind of like this castle, which I keep circling around instead of actually doing anything. I am supposed to put these. There we go. This is what I need to do. Yoop, bloop, boop, dee doop, the hoop, the loop, the time loop. There we go, okay. Yes. Which you wouldn't want to do. Oh, the title is just Blink. That reminds me of the hit game Brink from 2007. Which year did Brink... Does anybody remember Brink? Is that just natural progression and cause and... so it's not just a natural progression of cause and effect in a linear space? Maybe. Oh, 2011. Your castle reminds me of it. Ah, yes. I'm glad that it invokes that nuance. That's kind of what I'm going for. If Bowen ever watches it, maybe in the past or in the future, or even now, hard to tell, with time being that wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey thing. Aha, Doctor Who reference. I know, even though I haven't watched it, because of cultural osmosis. We love being exposed to things through cultural osmosis, don't we? Bing, bang, bosh. I've got a load of dosh. Loads of money. Has anybody here played Killing Floor? That was a game. The first one was great. The second one was okay. And then the third one we don't talk about. That's a hot take and an opinion. Well, and actually a very lukewarm to cold take, actually. Yup. Loop-de-doop. We are investing in more goop. I need to create higher rises for this thing here. I no likey. I should endeavor to change it so that I do likey. The problem with... Oh, right, I just remember the thing that we discussed last stream that I could do, where I can... Doop. There we go. I remember. There we are. Genius. Thy name might be Bowenthius. Where was I? I'm losing chat. Bowen's favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card name could very well be Gladiator Beast Darius. It would be if Darius didn't remind me of the League of Legends character, and I don't particularly care for League of Legends. But otherwise you would be right on point, Oskal. Don't let me eat pears, I hate pears. Could go on forever, I won't though. I mean, you could, like, this is... I allot this pace to everyone who would like to use it within respectable confines. I think that you are very much still within the confines of that respect, so... I would like all of these to move in a certain direction. Move far, far away. Bring me a merry day. Yeah. What else is there to be said and done? It would appear you don't like a certain fruit. It would indeed. An awful pairing that would be. Staircase. Oh, God. I didn't mean to do that. Ooh. Some good stuff right there. Can I do that with all? Actually, no. Very fascinating. Very strange as well, how it doesn't blend in. Oh yes, I was talking about the story of the Castle series, as I interpret it. I like pears, I just don't do quotes. The doctor said it before he hit himself very well. The doctor doesn't like pears. What a fun, quirky character trait for him to have, I suppose. I have discovered the genius etched within the confines of the machine that is my mind. Now the question is, how and why is this longer? Because this is in a position that directly does not what the hell is happening here? Are these... fascinating. Very particular... Oh, that's what happened over... What the hell is this? You stay in there, please. Thank you. Castle series. Castling about. Where was I? Oh, yes. So they find the third castle after getting the book from the second castle, which told them about the third castle. And they assembled the motley crew in the form of the main epic specialist protagonists. They went aboard their funny helicopters with 30 men or something of such, alongside the general, who is the main face of the corrupt institution that is trying to gather and obtain power for the sake of world domination or through the noble intentions of saving the dying Earth because it has been destroyed and depleted of all of its natural resource and beauty. Again, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And they get in their funny... Aha, there we go. They get into their helicopters, about 5 or 6 helicopters carrying over 30 men, and they go to the third castle. The third castle is basically this. They go inside, they find the magical artifact of power. Atreus and the general go over to pick it up. Atreus picks it up, it glows, and it basically downloads the entirety of a civilization's being into his noggin directly, and gives him superpowers. He goes crazy and explodes somebody. The general shoots him in the face, and he seemingly dies. The general picks up the funny artifact and goes down the big staircase where they found the artifact in the first place. Castle becomes a king for some reason. No way, that's chess. Nah. The pawn becomes a queen if it goes across the board. And because there was a loud gunshot heard, Beecher went to inspect, discovered Atreus' corpse, and immediately decided to train his sights on the general. They get into a little bash, and then the demons show up, and all the zombies start fighting them. It becomes a stick figure animation for a while, where you've got a bunch of fights going on. Oh no. Oh yes? Oh yes! And Lloyd, the guy with the sword, gets separated. They manage to use Boomer's explosives to blow through the wall because all the doors closed on them, trying to trap them in to kill them with the zombies of the castle. And they escaped. A bunch of them got even more separated, but they overall managed to escape. But then they discovered that the artifact was actually empty because all of the contents of the artifact was installed into Atreus' noggin. And then it pans to a scene of where his body was. His body's no longer there. And that's basically where the whole series ends. And then there was supposed to be a part 4, and that never happened. And then it was supposed to be a fan continuation. And then the fan continuation also ceased to be. If Bowen adds 5 more towers to this castle, but later changes his mind and takes away half of the towers, how many towers will this castle have? That is an uneven number. How many towers do I have right now? Do the square buildings constitute towers? I'm gonna go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-ish. So if I add 5 more, that makes 22, so it'll have 11 towers. Have I answered your riddle, Puzzle Master? Have we discovered how to live our lives as happily as we can within your reality? This is the world of O'Skull, we're just living in it. There we are. There we go, everything is all coming up Bowenthius. There we are. Good enough, I have established, is a correct amount of effort to put into things. I think, I believe, I conclude, and I declare. Now the question is, what's going on over here? Where does this pillar... Aha. Fascinating. These are uneven, and I dislike that intensely. Ooh, well, what have we got going on over here? Bowen, did you just do math? I did! I hate math, but that doesn't mean that I'm inept and incapable of doing math. It is the horrible reality of life is that you can dislike something and still be good at it. Look at most top streamers that are no longer doing it out of passion, but are doing it because it's their obligation and job. Probably. I do not claim to be the authority on how other people feel about their occupation. I am merely an observer. I mean, oh god, math! Oh god, my brain! Mathematics. A thing I do not care for, much in the similar vein to League of Legends. One can be honest with themselves. I'm not saying that there is no value in League of Legends. I'm just saying that I personally do not care for it. And my reasons are my own, which I have probably shared every now and then. Right, we need to figure out how to make this more stable. Also, I feel like all of these are painted a different color. Yes, they are. Me, oh my. Yep, they're all... they're all the neutral tone. I thought they were black. Only the tower itself is... Well, the staircases of the tower are black. Is the math bone cracked? The math bone is very atrophied and it does not like to be used. Not surprised that you were able to do it. I'm surprised that you were willing to do it. Well, unfortunately, math is one of those necessary evils in life where, in order to be able to live as well as one can, one must contend with its existence every now and then. It is a fundamental skill, in my opinion, much like walking. And I'm not talking about having to do very complex calculations, simple things, like what's 9 plus 10? A scholar once told me that that equates to 21, and I believe them wholeheartedly. I would like big arches, thank you. Aha, see how they are erased? There we are. Everything is coming up as I see fit. Except for the fact that this is a slight elevation higher than what I want it to be, which is something that I do not contemplate. At least until you get a personal assistant, then you let them do the chump work. I would love to have an agent. Does anybody here want to be my voice acting agent where they look at jobs and get 25% of my paycheck? Just because they found me the job, because without them there would be no job. I would love to have one of those. At least that's how I fathom how an agent works. They find you jobs, and if you agree to the jobs and do them, and you get paid for those jobs, they get a percentage of your paycheck for finding that job in the first place. I would love to have a person like that in my life. That would really help my voice acting career happen. Because, like I said earlier in the stream, that is the thing that I feel like is the most my calling, and the thing that I would love to do with my life. For now, I mean, opinions might change. Why would we take the agency from you, Bowen? You're a strong, independent Bowen. Yes, I am, but I know I can do it, but I don't want to. That's the difference, is I know I can be my own agent. I just can't be bothered to. And I can't be bothered to the point where I'm willing to pay somebody to be my agent on my behalf. That's the point that we are reaching. which is the whole reason for that spiel, is that I would rather defer that to somebody else because I don't like dealing with social media and having to send in applications and having to find jobs and having to be rejected. I could have a assistant/agent do all of that, and then they get a share of my profits. I think that is fair. I'd like an editor, but I can't pay for it yet. Exactly. That's the problem that I'm also encountering as well, is that those kinds of occupations require me to pay people, and I cannot afford to, unless they work the way I think an agent does, and they take a commission based on the jobs that I do thanks to them. That way, the money will generate itself, their paycheck and mine. So... that would be nice. I mean, you could argue that you could have an editor be in the same vein, like they edit the video for you, and then whatever proceeds you get from it, if you're a big streamer, they get a percentage of. And if that video doesn't earn anything, well, they don't either, and that is a very tough business proposition. But simultaneously, I think it is a fair one. Is it a fair one? Please, share with me your thoughts. Is the notion of being paid based on, basically being paid based on merit and how well the job does that you have done or acquired, is that a fair system? I think so. How is it not a fair system? If you think it's not a fair system, explain. Elaborate, pontificate. Share with me your dogma, so that I may learn and become more today than I was yesterday. I would love to find a person like that. If anybody's willing to do that, feel free to reach out. I can be reached at Bowenthius at proton.me. Also, everywhere else. Throughout the existence that is my life and career, I have not known the pleasures of a static and concise paycheck every month in a 9-to-5 scenario. I have known freelancing, and I have known unsteadiness, and I don't know if that perception has clouded my judgment in this field. I don't remember the book title, though. My wife had a book of example contracts for freelancers. It can be very helpful for creatives. Ah, that's a good source of information. Books. They feature a lot of knowledge. I would like the knowledge to know how to position this to be... You know what? I think that's fine. I think the problem is actually that this is too far away. Yes, there we go. Ah, so this was the one that was the problem, not the one... There we go, right. Bada bing, bada booey. Oh yeah, another thing that I'm just realizing because I'm reaching the 4-hour mark sooner rather than later is again, another promise, well, not necessarily promise, but a thing I said I'd do is that I was going to play Return to Obra Dinn, and I will still do that, but I'm going to keep doing tiny Glade streams until this castle is built, and I don't think this castle will be built within the confines of this stream. We did really good significant progress on it, don't get me wrong, but it's still not done, and I would like to finish Tiny Glade when the castle is done. So we're going to keep doing Tiny Glade until the castle is done, and Obra Dinn will come after. So eventually Tiny Glade. I mean, eventually Obra Dinn, but for now, Tiny Glade for until we finish the castle. Ha! Thank you for the hydration, O Skull. It is much appreciated. It is all about good advertising, and I am absolutely abysmal at advertising. One class that I feel like is worthwhile that I should look into is advertising and social media networking. I feel like I am very lacking in that field, and I would like either a person to do it on my behalf or courses to figure out how to do it. I feel like I would have a very, very prominent and good career had it not been for this limitation that I've imposed on myself. And why have I imposed it? It just isn't fun. Social media, it's a lot of tedium, and the kind of tedium that I don't like. The kind of tedium I like is having to put 500,000 windows on each and every single one of these towers. The kind of tedium I don't like. Having to copy-paste social media announcements, constantly having to be on top of it, having to send in emails and get rejection subsequently, and that kind of tedium is the kind that is more detrimental to me than quite possibly even math. I don't know how helpful it is in other fields, but in website design and development, a lot of our jobs came from people met at networking events. Yeah, those. I mean, that is a good shout, like, going to networking events, specifically with the notion of just showing yourself to a real convention of real people rather than relying on potential AI algorithms to hopefully pick up your CV so they can filter it through and send it to real people. That is a good idea. What was I doing? Oh, yes, I was equalizing these. Bada bing, bada booey. So, yes, that would be a good idea. I just don't know. Actually, yeah, I don't know, but I can find out if such a thing exists as a networking event for aspiring voice actors in my local metropolitan area. I don't know if that's a thing that exists, but if it is, that would be fun to go there and see what the hubbub is about. I mean, you could argue that going to volunteer in theatrical performances would do that because it's networking, it shows your ability to act, it exposes you to a crowd, and it allows you to network with like-minded actors. Real people aren't real, Bo. Don't try and scare us. I apologize for discomforting the audience. Yes, I knew it. If I hear of somebody looking for VAs, I'll let them know about you. Thank you. I very much appreciate it. Funnily enough, Uriella actually does the same thing. Every now and then they send a audition for something that they know is within my skill set every now and then. I apply to all of them and hear back from none of them, but it's the thought that counts, and I very much appreciate that. Nani? Oh. Can I delete this somehow? Break the chain. Fight the power. I cannot. Or at the very least, I do not know how. I will shelve it for another day. Another day. Plus, fight the power. It's been months at this point since I finished watching Gurren Lagann, and its beautiful message and themes still echo throughout my mind's eye to this day. It is a beautiful series that I wish I had watched in my more formative years, but now I guess now that I'm a fully fledged and formed Osteomancer, I can appreciate it. Regardless. Bada bing, bada booey. Ultimately, another thing that I wanted to use as a crutch to compensate for my lack of active seeking of opportunities at advertisement of my own talent and abilities is the stream, actually. I feel like it is a fun perspective to look at these streams as a way of me advertising myself and my talents in the form of my voice that I am currently using to speak to all of you. And I feel like that is also a good avenue for such things, but actually, no, I do have a tag voice actor, so I feel like if people liked my voice, they would have reached out by now. Through the means of using streaming as a 4-hour advertisement for my speaking voice. What is going on here? Ah, that's what's going on here. There we are. Alternative timeline, Bo. Hello, chat. I am Bowenthius. Are you implying that in an alternative timeline I would have auditioned for Hololive and they would have given me the position of Gargura? Is that the implication there? Because if not, please elaborate. Gotta appreciate extreme determination. It absolutely was beautiful. The drill that will pierce the heavens and believing in the Kamina that believes in the Simone. It was a beautiful series that I will very much hold dear, hopefully for as long as I remain upon this realm. Straight lines. What? Ooh. Ooh. Some of them are... Ooh. That's fascinating. Some of them are connected directly to the thing itself. Interesting. Formative. Oh. Oh, you mean Gurren Lagann. You mean that if... Oh, I see what you mean. You're referring to the fact that if I experienced Gurren Lagann earlier in my life, my name would have been Bowenthius, and I probably would have had some sort of drill motif going on for myself. Formative Gurren Lagann Bowen years old universe. Yes, the beautiful phenomenon of streamer brain immediately forgetting the context of what the chatters are responding to with regards to your own words, because the minute you say something, it immediately goes out of mind. A very fascinating phenomenon that I wish I wasn't victim of, but I am. I can cop to that. I feel like I've made it so that I can't touch this window ever, so I'm just gonna delete it. Did that delete the window? I hope it did. Man, there's going to be actually, no, there's going to be no egg on my face because this part of the wall makes... Ah, excellent. There will be no egg on my face today. I'm almost crying again at that. I will believe in the you that believes in me. Exactly! It is a beautiful sentiment, and I very much would like to carry it throughout the remainder of my days. It is a story of self-actualization and doing the impossible just because you believe you can. It goes a long way to instill agency within our own lives, to show us that yes, we can, even if the world is telling us we cannot. In other words, whoa, fight the power. The only criticism I have is I wish it wasn't constantly being interspliced with stereotypical Japanese teenager fondling of female character who is otherwise unremarkable and generic, but exists solely to have her boobs jiggle at 60 frames per second at the screen because teenager. But other than that, it is a beautiful series in sentiment. A series about people constantly being told that no, you can't, and them being like, you know what, I'm gonna, despite you, I'm gonna because I believe that I can. And just because you say I can't doesn't mean that I actually can't. She also had a very big gun, which also appealed to the teenage mindset. I will admit that as well. Her randomly reloading, logic and sense-defying gun that was as powerful as the plot needed it to be at times. I did actually like when she did gain personality through her teacher's arc, though. That was quite endearing. I think it actually established her as a good character in that sense, in that circumstance and moment. But until then, in my opinion, she was just eye candy. And a bit bratty, to be honest with you. Yes. Do we have all of these? No, we do not. This bottom tier here is out of sync with the rest of the system. I wish there was a way for me to make the whole thing flat, but eyeballing it is good enough for me. I am a master of eyeballing it, even though I am a person who does not traditionally have eyes. See, a beautiful example in life lesson. You don't need eyes to see. Just believe you can see. Believe in the sight that is your destiny, and you will see beyond sight. Like Lion-O from Thundercats? I believe it is Thundercats. Why can't I move this upwards? These are sliding downwards. You can see the gross arc that they are unfortunately undergoing, and the camera is not helping me in this regard. But we will persevere. Now that is a quote from a series I do very much love, Half-Life, which I have played on this channel. And would endeavor to play again, given interesting circumstances. Eye candy for some, extremely unrealistic goals for others. That is fair, actually. I didn't consider her from the female perspective. Huh, I never even thought about that perspective, yeah. It is... However you slice it, not great, not particularly excellent, but that's okay. It was ultimately a kid's show, or at least I hope it was. Because if it wasn't, it was very patronizing. Tell that to a legally blind person, not me though. I'm not a legally blind person. You are not. And you have pupils, if I believe, if I recall. Maybe not correctly, but potentially accurately. Where were we with this? That... Wasn't expecting that. Can I erase somehow? Ah, you can erase segments. Oh, that opens up a new avenue. I would like to erase this segment game. Thank you. That is very much appreciated. I am now directly addressing the game. I may have lost my mind, or I am simply very immersed in the experience right now. Which one it is up to you to decide. There we are. All's well in this world. In his world. Something, something, I don't know. Oof, more pluses are in order. I thought I would have been legally blind, but then I passed the eye test last time I got a driver's license. They'll let anyone drive. They will. They will let anyone drive except me. They stopped me from getting a driver's license multiple times because I was an anxious mess while taking the test, the driving test, and they did not allow me legally upon the streets. That's okay. You don't have to be there legally. Ha 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 ha. Unless you get caught, in which case you do have to be there legally. How many times have you been stopped to have your driver's license inspected? Less times than you'd have thunk, I'd imagine. Bada bing, bada booey. There we are. We have raised the anchor. I choose not to drive. I also choose not to drive. I choose public transport because I feel like it's good enough for my needs. I believe that public transport, at least in my region of this planet, is excellent and does not require any more to be done. is occurring? Strange transformation is what is occurring. Oh, didn't want to do that. I got away with all the license from 18 to 30. Well, so now you've been banned from driving? The road police is stalking for this vigilante known as Rad Mage, the driver. I drove better before I got it. And that's the fun thing about life. We never know where our circumstances will take us. What is this? Why is this? How is this? When is this? Fascination. A great many fascinations, I might add. Fear is actually ultimately what stopped me from getting my own driver's license, because the notion of having a police officer sitting next to you in the vehicle for the express purpose of judging your every action and move did not sit well with me, and I panicked under the pressure, and I just couldn't handle it, and that was many, many years ago. I would probably try again, but honestly, I still like public transport and feel like it meets my needs for now. If I found myself in the circumstances where I absolutely had to get a driver's license because there was no other way, I probably would. But for now, I am convenient enough in where I am. With enough beer, you can do the test with no panic. You'll wake up in a cell, but no anxiety. That is a great solution. Deltor, an excellent one indeed. I just had a DMV employee sit in the car for a 15-minute drive around the city. Yeah, that. I, unfortunately, did not have... That wasn't how it went down for me, I suppose. It went down in a much different and, I guess, scarier according to my interpretation fashions. It is what it is, ultimately. Oh. Fascinating. No. No, Mr. Tree, I do not wish for thee. A cop would make me nervous, too. Well, there it is. What it is. Having a driver's license was never the problem for me. Being asked every 5 minutes to drive someone to places was annoying. Yeah, well. I would imagine that would be obnoxious. Just had a funny idea. I will not do as the funny idea commands. There we are. Actually, nope. That makes... Nope, don't want those. Right, what is happening here? Something phantasmalastical, I can tell you. You need a license, boy, and you just need to find The Drive. Yes, The Drive, BM, or whatever that game is. I am sure that, again, if circumstances present themselves in such a way where I need to grab a license, I will probably endeavor to do so. But for the time being, like I said, comfort is occurring. I am working 100% remotely from home, and have not had the need to relocate for quite some time. Living in a hole tends to do that to you. I feel like this is not making a whole lot of sense for me right now. Not making a whole lot of sense at all. How is this? I guess this is the consequence of eyeballing it. Now the question is, how does one repair this? That's not how one... Oh, we have gone to a different plane of existence now. This connects to here, but then this is too wide here, so can I? Yes, I can. Ah, the trouble is with... There we go, we've discovered the trouble. And we have not made it double. There we go, we have figured out a way. See, where there's a will, there's a way. I live in a city where everything I need is less than a 10 to 15 minute walk away. I sold my car and have not missed it at all. Ah, that's delightful. It is a super duper convenience to have everything that you could possibly need be a 10 to 15 minute walk away. I can speak from experience. It was an absolute bliss. The nearest it was a chain of supermarkets and they were very close and they were very convenient. It was an excellent time. Now I require the power of biking to get to where I need to be, but it has its merits. And again, it's not so inconvenient that I would need to go out of my way to acquire an alternative means of transport. So, you know, it is what it is. What is going on here? Something mesmerizing is what's going on here. Not the straightest hedge clipper in the crayon desk. Get yourself a supermarket chain. Not as good as a normal chain, but a cheap one gets the job done. You can combine it to form... No, it's not a morning star. It's I guess it's just called a ball and chain. Forgot what it's called. It's not an evening star, and it's not a morning star. Circumstances. Alright. Produce! Obtuse! Moose. She was here earlier. There we are. We've done it. Now I can actually get rid of this intersection here. And that makes it look cooler. In my opinion. Excellent. And I can get rid of this intersection and that makes it look cooler. I need to have it make a bit more sense. So here. And then here. Is that how that works? Yes, it is. And... Actually... How about that instead? I think that's better. Yes. Yes? Yes. Good. A bunch of chains on a handle would be a wicked... Oh yeah, flail. That's what it's called, a flail. Bowen keeps hedge clippers in the crayon box. He'll make a great babysitter. I already babysat, and the baby is still alive. And it even grew out of its baby form into a cocoon of teenage angst. So I... Oh god, when the hell did that... Who upset the sanctity of this place with a wooden fence? How could they? Is nothing sacred anymore? Oh wait, you know who the culprit was? It was me. And I guess I didn't press undo enough times. Don't trust anybody, not even yourself. Right. And now they are an armed, angsty teenager? Very much so. They are armed with the ability to try my patience. Sounds like the Power Ranger. Yes, they have funny magic phones that transform them into whatever role they require at the time. Most of the time they require spandex to fight off their enemies, which is a curious prospect, but hey, I will not argue. Tattooed teenage... tattooed... Wait, I forgot. Tattooed Teenage Aliens from Beverly Hills, I believe, is what that series was called, and was really bad, really dumb. Why is this door so high up? I guess... another pumpkin. How about zero pumpkin? I refuse, you pumpkin. Right. I was just gonna say, I feel like there used to be stairs here. Where have they gone? They've gone inside for reasons unknown. But now they are outside again. And we can, oh god. And we can mostly rejoice. There we are. Good enough. That will solve our alien invasion problem. It was almost like the Winchester Mansion. Almost. Almost. Oh yes, I've made this tower dark and blackened like the sun's evil winds. Speaking of the sun, sun, appear! Appear before me, the sun. Good. I like it when you appear before me, the sun. Sun, sun, mystical sun, kill my enemies. That is a famous philosophical proverb. Good enough. Is that famous outside the States? Probably not. I would imagine not. The reason why I say that is because I have no idea what you're talking about, and I'm just nodding along like any good streamer would. Yes, the Winchester Mansion. I know what that is. I am well versed in some American cultural exports, but not all of them. I unfortunately have to disclose. I can talk to you about my opinions on Season 5 of Samurai Jack for days, but, that was done by a Russian immigrant who moved to America at an early age, who simply grew up immersed in that culture and adapted to it quite nicely. He is the constructor of many of my childhood memories, and I very much appreciate the work that man has done for Cartoon Network and beyond. She told her that she would be hunted by all the people killed by Winchester guns. Ah. The widow of the firearms guy Winchester saw a fortune teller. Well, I guess it is logical to say that when you produce one of the most famous guns in the world, the people getting killed by said gun wouldn't be particularly chuffed with you. So she built her mansion constantly with confusing architecture. Oh, it confuses the ghosts. That's fascinating. Kind of like this castle. It was also built to have confusing architecture so that the treasures and secrets held therein would not be plundered so easily. Plunder, I wonder? Oh no. No. Huh. could ultimately just move this portion. There we are. Easy peasy lemons. Ooh. Rise. Yes, actually. I will be doing last-minute changes to the architecture, thank you. Last-minute changes are my favorite ones. And it's, stairs to nowhere, doors that open to the outside from the 3rd floor. It's a tourist attraction. Now, it sounds like a very fun attraction for... just in general, really. I was trying to make a comparison to a haunted house or a house of mirrors. That would be very fun to find in an amusement park, but that sounds like its own form of amusement and entertainment. Sounds like she heard the prophecy, decided that the prophecies were for people with skill issues, and got to work. Absolutely! I mean, it's also a fun project. The architects were probably both very annoyed and also mildly entertained by the prospect of having to build what they had to build, so... you know. Now this is the dark side. There. I keep right-clicking for reasons that I cannot explain to myself, but we are figuring this out. As we move along in this world. Yeah. In this world, in his world? I don't know. How familiar are you with Sonic the Hedgehog? I'm not too well versed in it myself, actually. I know I spotted a stinker. There we are. The fruits are laborious, but delightful. Oh no. What is gone here? We have gone awry. There we go. All is set in stone. I imagine the local contractors got very rich off of her. Well, superstition pays, actually, not the people who believe in the superstitions, but the people who peddle the superstitions and get people to believe in them. Many an industry have thrived off of these aspects. I mean, that is why it is very famous to... the phrase of a snake oil salesman is very famous for just that exact purpose. Castling on. Feels like it could be a little bit dummy thicker. Just a teeny tiny bit. Otherwise, I'm feeling pretty happy about how this is turning out. It's turning out way better than I had expected, but... I think that's because usually when I create a work of art, I am very much in the perfectionist camp. And I also take a meticulous amount of work, and I have a very vivid imagination, so what I imagine is almost always not what the final end product ends up being and looking like. So... it is... what am I trying to describe here? It is... I guess the way I imagine a project in my head is nowadays a lot more ugly because I temper my expectations, but because this is built using a very well-crafted engine that has a lot of nooks and crannies already figured out, it's looking actually better than how I expected it to be. Again, it's very important for one to temper their expectations. Oh, Christ. And... when you have very low expectations, it's very pleasant to be surprised when things turn out well. Yo, I'm a huge fan of your work as the consul in RTBR. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Stone. Thank you for stopping by. Your kind words are very much appreciated. That is the first time somebody's actually mentioned that, but thank you all the same. Stay tuned for more of that, eventually, in the fullness of time. Until then, we have the Wednesdays, with me, your host, Bowenthius, the Bone Wizard. I voice totalitarian dictators and Half-Life mods. Oh yes, I remembered why that's the way it is. Puts a smile on my bony face. There we are. That is actually so dark that I thought it was the black coloring, but it is actually the neutral one. Very dark indeed. That's okay. Bowen, have you ever thought about that? The fullness of time? What does time eat? Are mortals being consumed by time? Well, in a way, yes. The fullness of time can never be satiated, so ultimately, the way I use the phrase is to describe a beast that can never be satiated. The fullness of time is in itself an impossibility, because no matter how much time eats people, buildings, environments, planets, stars, it will never be enough. Ah yes, cylinders. How are? I am well. The cylinders are also well. Thank you for stopping by, Jay. I think these cylinders are quite well, to be honest with you. I think this castle is turning out very liminally, as was the original intent. So, overall, pretty happy with it. This is an unconnected tower that doesn't actually have any through lines. Do I want to keep it that way? Maybe I do. Or maybe I don't. What I do know is that I want it to be taller. Yes. Boop. Boop. Flip the universe over and start on side B. Yes. But yes, I'm doing great. I stopped dropping frames randomly, and I'm happy with that. Don't know if it's something that I should consider a solved problem, or if it's something I should look into. I could do both. Otherwise, doing very well. I hope life is treating you amicably as well. Things are pinging and dinging, and emails are coming in. It's a wild party. When I cease to exist, time will cease to exist, for I have observed time as... Time has only existed while I existed. That, Everybody, we must make sure to keep this man alive at all times, because reality hinges upon his existence. This is a very unfortunate revelation. We must work to... we must work to put this man on a golden throne and extend his life indefinitely while he suffers in the psionic void. At least existence will continue to be, and will continue to thrive. Can't prove you're wrong. It seems impossible. It is, and it might just be true. You never know with the age of Deltor. This is the age that we are currently living in. What will happen once this age passes? Will there be a future? Is that future even going to be worth living? very important and thought-provoking question. Stones thrown. Ah, the problem deepens the higher up we go upon this chain that I have formulated and created. And thusly we diverge from that chain. There we go. Peculiar transformation. Time's actually quite small. It's about the size of a picture. You can tell by looking at the time frame. Is that why we're building the Torment Nexus? Do not build the Torment Nexus, a book and instruction manual about how to build the Torment Nexus by the person who realized that the Torment Nexus is very scary. Corporations, let's build the Torment Nexus, everybody. That sounds like a very good idea that will definitely please investors and shareholders. Yes. We must construct it. How about we don't, and then we say that we did? Is that an option? I hope that's an option. Sounds like a great option. What will happen when I take this, add that, and then extend... Oh, nothing. It will perish. Neat. Symmetry is not something that I am well versed in. As such, we must be asymmetrical. Asymmetrical. Now the question is, what do I do with this roof? Well, you put us in this mess, we can't let time cease. We need to fix it. Time is the cause of all your torment, so I will be in good company. All suffer with me. There are some times where I am truly fearful of the fact that you are actually an eldritch monstrosity with an unquenchable thirst for human suffering. But other times, I'm glad that I have you as a moderator. That looks silly. What will happen when one... Ah, that is what will happen. I was afraid that was what was going to happen. I've finally been released from the chains of the hell I was in. 1 day suspension. Oh boy, I wonder what... I wonder what reason institutions would have to suspend you, of all people, Google_assistants. Welcome in. Thank you for stopping by. I hope it is a behavior that you will learn to be more mindful of in the future. Not necessarily change, because I do not know your behavior in that particular instance, saying a certain word that I'm too scared to repeat. Well, you learn the consequences of the actions which is saying that word, so you'll probably know not to do better. I mean, you'll know to do better. It's not unquenchable, it can be quenched, I just get thirsty again eventually. I mean, that is how it works. You are quenched for a while, and then the unquenchingness begins anew. The quenchlessness, if you will. There we are. We have discovered a solution to our conundrum from earlier. Solutions and conundrums, conundrums and solutions. Hopefully they will not fall off into the infinite void. Off that particular parapet. Ah. I just tell you the meaning of it instead? Sure, I love a guessing game. The funny thing about words is that they have as much power and meaning as we give them, and unfortunately, some cultures give more power to more words than they have any right to have. But simultaneously, it is important to conform to the beliefs and expectations, because ultimately we do live in a society. And they probably had a good reason for it, and at the very least, it showcases a desire to respect society by not uttering those things. And ultimately, once you accept that, you start to learn that it is more so about your actions and how they reflect on you, rather than the consequences and such. Ah, the meaning of the word is never mine. That is a nefarious thing indeed. Fucking society. I know, right? It is what it is. You know what I meant. I don't. I am not a reader of minds. I am a controller of bones, and your brain is hopefully not located inside your bone marrow. That would make you a bonehead, and I don't believe you are. Even if evidence points to the contrary, I'd like to believe the best in people. Isn't your noggin filled with newspaper? No, my noggin is empty. It's filled with red, mysterious goo. My torso is filled with newspaper. It's very important to get the lore straight, my friend. That's you can actually directly see that my head is empty the minute I lose consciousness. See, there's nothing in there. Hey Google, do a funny dance. Finally, somebody actually did the thing. In text, yes, try to do a funny dance in text form. In fact, let's see who's faster at doing a funny dance in text form. Let's see if I can beat you to it. Let's see. There we go. We actually had the exact same idea. I mean, it's a guy in the middle with music notes. You could interpret that as music, but you could also interpret it as dance. And also, you technically beat me to it, so I don't see why you need to defend your own dance by pointing out the flaws in mine. That showcases a deeper discontent somewhere within the bowels of your being, which I would recommend be resolved with a healthy dose of introspection. Ultimately, the world does nothing to you. You perceive the world as doing things to you. Beautiful. I believe we are at the most hand thing I could find. It is very much that. It is the Gib Pliz. I got mine off of Discord because I know that they have a tab for that next to the emoji one. I believe this castle is at a very nice stage at this moment. I definitely will need to add many windows. But for now, I think I am content enough with it as it goes and as it is. Boop. All of these shall have... whatchamacallits, I forget. Duh. I keep pressing the roof, and the roof is not the thing that I wish to paint. Why do I feel like it's made of sand? It does look like it's made of sand. That is because the beautiful sun is bathing it in a yellowish glow, and the Stold's cold chanting is already a shade of bland, so it does look even more so like it. But if we turn day into night, the visage of sand disappears, and now it looks very blue. A delightful thing, to be sure. Oh yes, I forgot that usually I end these streams with the customary taking of pictures, which I will endeavor to do eventually. Parapets. Ooh, that is confusing, but fascinating. I wonder why it does that. Hey Google, would it be a crime to write me a fancy rhyme? Do it in a short time, or go eat a lime. I love your Google prompts, oh Skull. Keep them up. The tiny castle and the tiny fortification on the tiny hill in the tiny glade. This is a tiny something or other. I could add trees, or more to the point, I could add the trees back. There we go. The trees are allowed to return in the confines of this space. Do you guys remember the core from Portal 2 that kept yelling about space? That was a fun character in the far-off year of 2011, which is over a decade old at this point, almost reaching into 2. And answer that, it can be a crime depending on the content. And this channel, unlike many others, will not tell you to go do crime after handing you a gun. What you do with the gun is entirely up to you. Let's do a contest. What's the most king thing a king would say? I don't know. Probably not, I don't know. I would imagine. Ooh. Hey Google, say something nice to the people attending the stream because they deserve it. Hi, I'm Google, your not-so-personal assistant. Say hey Google to call me. He did, So, ironically, you started your introduction into the scions of Bowenthius by constantly asking people to prompt you with hey Google, and now when people have started prompting you with hey Google, you are ignoring them. Very Google of you to do so. There we go. The funny little trees have been planted all over the place. It is delightful, I am certain. It's my month, so I should get some freebies, or at least a couple of crimes. You can commit crimes all year round. They don't need to be confined to a specific month. Last few streams did something. Yes. Oh, What was I doing? Oh yes, I was taking pictures, or at least I endeavored to take pictures. And the game exploded. Oh, there we go, because it needed to get into camera mode, because camera mode is quite contemplative and difficult. I can't go up. The camera refuses. There we go, now we have a free camera. Delightful. Question is, what? Oh. I see the lighting engine is having some problems. Is it having? Yes, it is having problems. Problems that it can't decipher because my weird method of using this is leaving it bereft of logic. Yeah, I don't understand what that beam is. Strange. Hey Google, what is your problem? People asking dumb questions. I have a pixel, and none of this constant summoning of it has worked. Oh yes, I recall that some streamers actually summon their Pixel series and whatever other assistants they have by saying, hey Siri, and so on and so forth, and people have had that happen. If you're listening without headphones on or something of such. I don't think I've actually had that experience happen with me, or at least nobody has pointed out, hey, you activated my assistant. Google Assistants quit. Hey Google, this statement is false, divided by 0. Hey Google, this sentence is false. Hey Google, what's the airspeed? Hey Google, what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? European or African swallow? I don't know that. And Google Assistance is tossed into the ether, never to be heard from again. If only we could do that with the actual Google, the corporation. They seem to have discarded their motto of do no harm and do no evil. Hey Google, you mad? See, I don't have to police my community does it for me. Average speed, approximately 11 meters per second, roughly 24 miles per hour, 39 kilometers per hour. Cruising range, it generally maintains a steady cruising speed between 20 and 25 miles per hour during migration. And we learned something new today. Ooh, I also learned something new today. I can elevate and de-escalate by pressing Q and E. I didn't know that. Neat. I will endeavor to remember this for next time. Because this is a very tall order of a architecture, dare I say. Nope, still keep doing the wrong thing. Yeah, that is weird that the motto used to be don't be evil, they just removed the don't. They just removed the don't. Damn, they knew, now they're one step closer to the Holy Grail. Yes, it's true, they can continue their merry adventure and fight the Black Knight who is determined. He is another person who exemplifies the tenets of Gurren Lagann by never giving up regardless of how many limbs he loses. It is delightful to see. For all intents and purposes. How dare? Video game, I demand. There we are. The demand has been met. What? The door is now taller somehow. Excellent. The door is now bigger. The door is now doubled. Delightful. Because larger African swallow species carry slightly more mass and have a higher wing loading than their European counterparts, their cruising speed is calculated to be roughly 50% faster. I will not do any calculations on... What's the word? I will not do any non-consensual calculations, thank you. Right, where would one endeavor to take a picture of this? Ah. Oh, I have an idea for a thumbnail if I took a picture here. Right, well, that's the picture button. There's the picture button. Delightful. What more can there be in this world of stone created by me? Hey Google, who gave you permission to speak? People who ask me questions. Technically, for every person that is not muted in this stream is a kind of permission to speak. So everybody has permission to speak until that permission is revoked. By means of certain behaviors forcing my hand. I can do the... Ah, how very delightful. Very delightful indeed. Only watch the best of the best. Google Assistant's AI has achieved sentience. Now they must watch Bowen. I appreciate that. I do not endeavor to believe myself to be the best of the best, but I welcome anybody who finds me entertaining. The door. The door is an interesting specimen. Yeah. And stairs and so many other beautiful things. Ah! We have this shot again. Maybe it was too harsh on the clankers. That seems like a good thing. For every AI that achieves sentience, there will be another tally on my viewership score. How can we not allow the AI overlords to take over? They directly benefit me, specifically, and nobody else. Kumbaya Ahoy. I remember when Ahoy was just named Xbox Ahoy, but then he switched up his routine, understandably so. The Xbox brand has been suffering for many a moons. Ooh. Speaking of suffering, this is the reverse of that. That is a sick image. Look, oh, I love what's it called, volumetric lighting. I think this is what this is called. Feel free to correct me if I am mistaken. Boom. Sun shines, birds bird, and trees have bees in them, probably. Yes, this is what we have going on for ourselves in this stream. I hope everybody has enjoyed their time. It is sooner rather than later that yet another Bowensday comes to a close. And feel free to anticipate more of the same for the next stream, hopefully with... Actually, I've only managed to drop 4,266 frames after my disconnection and restarting of stream, so maybe the problem has resolved itself through one way or another. Either way, I will endeavor to look into it to hopefully further resolve any future occurrences of frame dropping. I do apologize if it caused any stuttering or inconvenience in this stream. But yes, I will keep doing Tiny Glade until I'm done with this castle, and by the looks of it, it will take me many a moons, which simply opens up the opportunity for more of the Tiny Glade streams. And given all these structures, I would say, Bowen, that you may have a pillar man. You may become a pillar man. I am very much a pillar man. Hey Google, say thanks to Bowenthius for the great stream. Oh, this is very charming. Rocks and stones upon the thrones. Ooh, that is sick. I would love to inspect a castle like this in reality and just be a tourist for a bit. I believe the architecture, if seen in real life, would be awe-inspiring. Have you guys ever been to liminal castles? Have you ever been to any castles at all? And with the guise of tourism? I've been to one or two. They are very cool. Ooh. I see you peruse the annals of Senhoshi as well. Sees 500 word limit. That's a fun way to avoid the prompt. Say that the prompt is outside the scope of the parameters you have been set. There we go. I think this will be the final one. Alright, that is us for now. I can make this appear less yellow by means of changing it to olden style. It is now very much more castle-y. There we go. You see how much difference the sun can make when you shift it? I'm glad that I discovered, well, I discovered it with the help of Deltor. That we discovered this beautiful ability to change the environment at will. Ooh, that is very vibrant. Very vibrant indeed. It is probably no surprise that I like the olden one the most, because it is meant to be gloomy and spooky. Hey, hey, Apple! Hey, Apple! Hey! Don't be rude, he's just trying to work with the Google Assistant. Actually, no, continue to be rude, then I have probable cause to end your tenure with the Scions of Bowenthius. Google Assistant needs an update. Maybe it needs to be scrubbed for viruses. Certainly not raided any castles. Definitely not. Oh, you are an angel and you do not do anything of the sort. This is your update? Fascinating. Right. I have been talking about stopping for the past 20 minutes, so I'm going to actually act on that now. Right. Bada bing bada wooey, and now we're back here. I will... How do you exit this? You exit this by clicking the exit button. There we go, exit button achieved. You are welcome. Thank you everybody for being here. Thank you Radmage for the lovely chat. It was a delight to have you. Thank you everybody for your continued support. Is your cave your home? I live in a hole, good sir, so yes. Thanks for the wonderful stream, Bowen. I see you had that ready in the chamber. Castle looks amazing. Can't wait to see how amazing it will look with the details. As always, have a great week, and thank you for making Bow Wednesdays a great start of the day. You are very welcome, Killshot. Thank you for your continued support, both in your presence here with both you and the rest of your family, but also on Ko-Fi, with your actual monetary donations that both allow me to peruse and buy more games for the stream, and further contribute to my self-esteem. I actually had that exact thought and conversation earlier in the stream, Google_assistance. I started off very extravagantly at the beginning of my career, streaming 3 to 4 days a week for 4 or 5 more hours, and that was too much and I got overwhelmed, so I kept dialing it back, and now I'm finally at a place where I'm starting to finally feel like I can dial it up a notch instead. So who knows what the future holds? Maybe more streams, maybe not. I can vouch for the idea that my Halloween-a-thon will probably feature more streams than once weekly. At least that's kind of the idea that I'm going for. It's kind of going to be a type of break thing, where I will be streaming games, and they will be spooky games, and that will be a load of fun. You can paying for Bowen's stream and self-e-steam. My self-electronic steam, yes, very much so. He didn't get annoyed enough. Teamwork makes the dream work. It absolutely does. We are a community effort. I am simply the spearhead of that community. You guys are a great and mighty shaft. Right. Who can we raid? Can I raid the person that I've been wanting to raid for 2 streams because I didn't raid them that one time and I felt bad about it? Can I do it now? No. No, I cannot. They are not streaming right now, and that's okay. There's always next time. Who can we raid instead? I feel like I'm allowed to allot myself some time off from speaking after considering that I have been speaking for an extended amount of time. could just raid into Senhoshi again, but I did that last week. I'd like to be... That's the other problem. Did you disable channel points on purpose? I didn't disable channel points on purpose. I'm not affiliated, and you don't get ads on this channel. That is a conscious and deliberate thing. If you would read my description, you would see that I actually do have a redeem system. It's just not within the confines of Twitch. It is something that I do with third-party software because I like the functionality of channel points, but I didn't like the idea of Twitch taking 50% of all of your money for every transaction you made on the platform. And also the ads were a very big thing that killed it for me, so... Alright, I'm gonna go with... bada bing, bada booey. Pros and cons, indeed. Exactly. Exclamation mark sigils. It's all done with typed commands, but it's still very much the same as a channel point system. Raid! Alright, we are raiding into MEX Boo. They are currently playing Fallout 76 and are collaborating. Hopefully you will enjoy your time there. We have our raid message, which was showcased above. If you scroll up, you can pick it up. It's optional, of course. Feel free to do so if you want to. I am looking at Killshot's lovely message again. But yes, hopefully you will enjoy your time there, and I shall see you on the next Bow Wednesday for more Tiny Glade Castle continuation and philosophical quandaries, potentially. We will discover that together. I don't prep my topics, and I never know what I'm going to yap about. I usually yap about things that are on my mind, and if people enjoy that, then I'm good. Ah, the mug was still there this entire time, but yes, hands. It does go up as time passes. Thank you for explaining that. But yes, take care, everybody.